And we are live. What's up, guys? Welcome to Fed. I'm here with Legal Mindset. We're going to be talking about the Idaho murders. You guys have been asking for this one for a very long time. Let's break it down. I was a special agent with Homeland Security Investigations, okay, guys? HSI. The cases that I did mostly were human smuggling and drug trafficking. No one else has these documents, by the way.
Here's what FedEx covers.
Dr. Lafredo confirmed lacerations due to stepping on glass.
Murder investigations.
You see him reaching in his jacket. You don't know. And he's positioning. Been on February 13, 2019.
You're facing 2 counts of premeditated murder,
Racketeering and RICO conspiracies.
Young Slime Life, here and after referred to as YSL. The defendants 6'9", and then this is Billy Seiko right here. Now, when they first started, guys, 6'9" ran. I'm a Fed. I'm watching this music video. You know, I'm bobbing my head like, hey, this shit lit. But at the same time, I'm pausing. Oh, wait, who this? Right? Oh, who's that in the back?
Firearms and violent crime.
AKA Bushy Eyebrows violated.
you're ordered to stay away from the victim.
Rapper Bushy Eyebrows arrested after shooting at King of Diamonds, Miami strip club, injured one person. This is the one that's gonna fuck him up because this gun is not traceable. Well, it happened at the gun range. Here's your boy 42 Doug right here on the left. Okay.
Sex trafficking and sex crimes.
They can effectively link him to paying an underage girl.
I'm gonna lock my fifth limit, right.
And the first bomb went off right here.
Suspect 2 set down a backpack at the site of the second explosion.
Inspired by Al Qaeda. 2 terrorists and brothers, the Dzhokhar Sarnev and Tamerlan Sarnev.
When the cartels ship drugs into the country.
As this guy got arrested for espionage, okay, trading secrets with the Russians for monetary compensation. The largest corrupt police bust in New Orleans history.
The days of the police are gone.
So he was in this bad boy. We're going to go over his past, the gang ties, so that this all makes sense. All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to Fed. I know you guys complain. Yo, that intro's too long. Hey, man, I need a couple.
No, it's fire. It's too fire is what it is. It's great. I love it, man.
Time to get my stuff ready, man. But guys, I got Andrew from Legal Mindset in the house, man. If you guys already know, if I have him in the house, we got a very thorough breakdown for you guys. You guys have been requesting this thing since November when it first broke. Hey, cover this case, cover this case, cover this case. As you guys know, they recently got a suspect in custody. We're going to break down the case overall, how they identified the suspect, what's going on, the current legal process, what we predict in the future. And yeah, but yo, Andrew, I know who you are, but the people might not know who you are, man.
Yeah.
Fast.
Yeah, sure. I'm Andrew Esquire. I got my channel Legal Mindset. Follow me on YouTube, Rumble, and Locals, legalmindset.locals.com. All those platforms, best ways to find me. I've been covering this case since the jump. I'm a practicing Florida attorney, but I live now in Seoul, South Korea. I've done cases in court. I've done non-litigation. I've done litigation. So I have done everything, and I cover just about everything on my channel, and I've gone on a deep dive on this case because it is hotly requested, and I'm a man of the people. I give the people what they want, and this is something I covered before they caught the guy, and now we're following it through. This case, and I'll tell you right now, will be the biggest case of the year in whatever year it goes. Now, we'll talk about when I think this case is actually going to go to trial, but whenever this case goes, it will be the largest case ever, and we're looking at some insane facts that Myron and I are going to break down for you from a law enforcement perspective and from a legal perspective. I'm super excited about this one.
Yeah, no, this one is going to be lit. We got a super chat here. Raul goes, in town visiting a couple buddies. Just had BBQ and Craft and Brickle. Everything you guys say about Miami is 1,000% facts. Yeah, I ain't kidding around when I tell you guys Miami is the Olympics of hypergamy, my friend.
Yeah, it is the top tier. It is the Olympics. You cannot come to Miami with your B game. You got to be on your A game in Miami. Period. Hands down.
Don't know if anybody asked, but could you do a Take K breakdown? Yeah, Take K is probably one of the worst snuff shooters of all time. He did the song The Race while he was running from the police for murder and burglary. And then AR Ab as well. Don't worry, I'll do some of those terrible self-snitching hip-hop cases as well in the future. But so this case, I guess to give my overall thoughts on it, it gave me some Ted Bundy vibes.
Oh, yeah. Do you ever hear about I went to University of Florida. Did you hear about the Rawlings killings, the Danny Rawlings killings?
You know, I did hear them, but the facts are a little murky in my head.
So back in the day in Gainesville, this was before Ring cameras and CCTV and all that good stuff that we have, traffic cams. This guy was a rando, right? Some random dude who went around killing women in Gainesville and he would, position their bodies for shock value and all this. And there was one of the famous murders that he committed was at a house where the boyfriend was sleeping there. He still broke in, murdered the boyfriend with a knife because he used a knife, and as well as the other girls in that apartment. And this reminded me of that specific murder. Now, he had more than one. He was a serial killer, but it reminded me of that, the use of the knife, the boyfriend being there. That's another fact that I think really sets this apart, because you had three blonde college sorority type women and one of their boyfriends that were killed. And it really reminded me of that because it put everybody in fear. Following this incident, everybody was remote at University of Idaho. Everyone was there. Everyone was out and just scared for their life. People didn't want to be there. People didn't want to be in class. Exact same sentiment was back in the day with the Rawlings murders. And those still have been forgotten in Gainesville. And I think the University of Idaho, they're going to be feeling this one for a long time.
When did the Rawlings murders happen?
Oh, I'd have to look it up. This is before
80s, 90s?
Way before. Yes, I think we're looking at 80s on that.
Okay. I want to say this about this case.
August 1990. August
1990.
Or right on the border there, yeah. Border of the 80s and 90s.
Well, one thing I want to say about this case is that if not for modern technology, they would not have found this guy. There's a reason why serial killers went crazy from the 60s all the way up until the 90s with, the use of the wide stream use of DNA evidence, being able to get phone location, etc. They caught this guy off of DNA, phone location data, and surveillance cameras. Those are the three main pieces of evidence which we're going to go over in this affidavit. But before we get anything, you got anything to say before we get into it?
Let's just get into it, guys. This one's going to be huge. It's going to be covered. Extensive. Let's just get into it, man.
Okay, so I'm going to move this over here. All right, as you guys know, I got a whole bunch of tabs for y'all open. That's how I do it. So first, we're going to talk about where is Moscow, Idaho. Guys, okay, this is where the murder took place. As y'all can see, we are talking about rural America over here, all right? Right on the border of Washington State, because I got a lot of international viewers, so you guys kind of understand. A lot of people think, oh, United States, New York City. No, guys, it's much bigger than that. So you go over to Idaho, right? And this is where the murder occurred, right here, Moscow. Not Moscow, Russia, but Moscow, Idaho. And yes, I did not know this place existed prior to this murder either. Okay, Moscow is a city in north central Idaho, United States, located along the state border with Washington. It had a population of 25,435 at the 2020 census, the county seat and the largest city of Latah County. Moscow is the home of the University of Idaho, the state's land grant institution and primary research university, which here it is right here, guys. Pretty big school. I think this school has about 10,000 students, if I'm not mistaken.
Half the population of Moscow is students. So
yes.
this town is students. It's like any college town, right? So in Florida, I think of UF, I think of Gainesville because that's my alma mater. But you can think of a place like College Station or anywhere else that's got a large student population. That's the primary population of that town, college town.
Yeah. And I will say this too, because for all my international viewers that might not be aware, in the United States, when you have a big university, let's say you got a University of Connecticut, right? You got Texas Longhorns, etc. Typically, these big schools that have 10, 20, 30, all the way up to 50, 60,000 students, they're typically in a rural town somewhere outside of a major city. And that town is run by the college. That town's entire economy is dependent upon that college 9 out of 10 times. Okay. Especially the big universities. So I'm not surprised that this school, right? By Idaho standards, this is a big school and this is a big town.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, half the population, guys, you guys can see here is students. All right. But basically, here's the University of Idaho. I'll give you guys a quick little overview of it. University of Idaho is a public land grant research university in Moscow, Idaho. It's the state's land grant and primary research university and the lead university in the Idaho Space Grant Consortium. University of Idaho was the state's sole university for 71 years until 1963. Its College of Law, established in 1909, was first accredited by the American Bar Association in 1925. So basically, guys, this school is the main state school for Idaho. And this is how it goes in the United States. Typically, every state has a big state university of some kind. In Connecticut, it's UConn. In Massachusetts, the University of Massachusetts, UMass Amherst. In Florida, what would you say? University of Florida?
Yeah, University of Florida. That'd be it.
University of Florida, not to be confused with
maybe
Florida.
Maybe there's maybe UCF vies for it close to, but I mean, University of Florida, I'd say, especially college town. We think of college towns, right?
Yeah,
that's exactly what you think of. I went, UNC, my other alma mater up in North Carolina, Chapel Hill, primarily college town. So these are places that, once again, they're made up by their transient student population. And the problem is that you cannot have a huge police force in a place that has a transient student population. You don't have a lot of officers to hire there. You don't have normal working people. Those people are mostly transient. They're not sticking around. And I know the chat's like, it's Moscow. And I'm like, okay, however you pronounce it, Moscow, whatever. They're not sticking around in your small town, right?
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, guys, now it's Moscow in Idaho. All right, guys. Right. Either way, so now we know where it's located and we know the university. Now we're gonna go ahead and get into what happened when the news first broke. Okay, back as you guys can see, this video came out November 14th, 2022. The murders occurred on November 13th. The reason why I want to play the video from when this first occurred is so you guys can kind of get the idea, right, of the atmosphere and the temperature of the nation when this stuff was broken out, because this is something that happens common, guys. I mean, some crazy killer breaking into a house and killing college students. I mean, they haven't seen this since like Ted Bundy and the Rollin murders, right? So anytime this happens, it's going to put everyone on high alert, all right? So I'm going to play this video, and you guys are going to also see who the victims are. And I'll show you guys real fast who they are right here, and then we'll play this video. As you guys can see, Ethan Chapman, 20 years old, from Mount Vernon, Washington. Kaylee Goncalves, 21, from Wraith Drum in Idaho. Xana Kernodle, 20 years old, Post Falls, Idaho. Madison Mogan, 21, Kozor D'Alene, Idaho. So, So rest in peace to them, guys. And we're going to go ahead and play this video, and then we'll go ahead and get into how they identified this individual.
4 students from the University of Idaho are dead, but very little is known other than it is being investigated as a homicide.
We have reached out multiple times to Moscow police. They are saying very little to our reporters on the scene and our newsroom.
Which is actually really good that they barely talk to the press. You don't see this a lot with small police departments that don't have experience like that. It was fantastic that they kept a lot of things to their chest. Go ahead, sorry.
I will say this: they kept some things to their chest because there's a gag order. So the court did put out a gag order saying do not talk to people. I will say that there were some comments that should not have been made early on about the culpability of Mr. Kohberger, because that can be potentially prejudicial, potentially problematic, used against them in the future if they're making those statements before they've really processed this guy and given him an appearance.
Okay, nice, good point. And Bryan Kohberger, guys, is
the suspect. He's the suspect, the prime and only suspect in this case.
We have heard rumors about how these students were killed, but here's what we know for sure tonight. Police received a call around noon on Sunday about an unconscious person. And when officers arrived at the home on King Road, they found the bodies of Ethan Chapman, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Kaylee Goncalves.
Investigators say there's no active threat in the community. No word yet on how the students were killed or if the victims might have known their attacker. We currently have 3 crews in Moscow searching for answers, and we will update you when we learn more.
There's still a lot we don't know about the University of Idaho homicide that took the lives of those 4 students yesterday.
Emily Bloom explains what we know about the students so far. Emily.
Yeah, we're starting to learn more about the 4 students who lost their life yesterday. They all grew up in North Idaho, Coeur d'Alene, Post Falls, Rathdrum, and Priest Lake. And the 4 students, clearly very close friends. Kaylee Goncalves was a 21-year-old senior from Rathdrum who graduated from Lake City High, majoring in general studies in the College of Letters, Arts, and Social Sciences. The second victim and Lake City High graduate, Madison Mogan, was 21 years old. She was a senior from Coeur d'Alene also, majoring in marketing and in the College of Business and Economics. These 2 lifelong childhood friends. Coeur d'Alene schools put out a statement today reading in part, "The loss of our graduates, Kaylee and Madison, is heartbreaking. We joined the University of Idaho in mourning the tragic loss of all 4 students." Ethan Chapman was a 20-year-old freshman, a member of the Sigma Chi fraternity. He was majoring in recreation, sport, and tourism management in the College of Education, Health, and Human Sciences. Originally from Mount Vernon, Washington, growing up, his family spent time at Priest Lake. Xana Kernodle, a 20-year-old junior from Post Falls, was majoring in marketing in the College of Business and Economics and a member of the Pi Beta Phi sorority. Xana posted a photo to social media.
All right, so this photo has the 4 victims and 2 of the witnesses.
And the 2 roommates, right? And these are the ones that survived. right?
And
So the
you know
witnesses are the survivors.
Hold on, I got that photo for y'all because
Unedited. It's out
this
there.
is them right here, guys. So this is the actual photo of all of them. And if I'm not mistaken, this is who on the right again?
This is Dylan.
Yes, Dylan Mortensen, I think her last name is.
So she's going to show up in the affidavit as DM.
Yes,
DM.
and then this is what's her name again? Bethany. I forget
F. F. It's BF.
Her last name, but they're going to use her initials in the affidavit too. So make a note, guys. So again, these are the 4 victims that were killed. Rest in peace to them. And then these are the 2 surviving victims, which we're going to talk about their involvement in this case. But they tried to blur them out, I guess, for privacy since they survived. But I mean, come on, it's the internet.
No, and here's the thing: you put this on Instagram, right, guys? When you put stuff on Instagram, that is public record.
Yep.
A lot of these hosts don't know this, especially the 304s. They're posting stuff that is literally usable in court. If you put something on Facebook and it is public, you put something on Instagram and it's public, guess what? They can use that in court. Even if you delete it afterwards, they can use that because at one point you put it out there to the world, you put it out there to the public, they can just admit that as evidence. You're kind of screwed. So be very careful with your social media posts because they can and will be used against you in a court of law.
Yeah, no expectation of privacy is what they assume once you post it on the internet.
Exactly.
Just 2 weeks ago, wishing Ethan a happy birthday, a caption including, "Life is so much better with you in it. Love you." Mad Greek, a restaurant in the heart of downtown Moscow, shared this tweet today.
So as y'all could see, right, these were 4 students, right, innocent people. Rest in peace to them, man. And I'm glad that they did this, humanizing the victims, because this is something that we don't do often. A lot of the times they want to go ahead and, prop up the killer, like, oh my God, look at this or whatever. So it's good that they were able to humanize the victims and let y'all know that, these are people that had lives, regular people that had jobs, families, people that loved them. And I think that's important because, we live in a very true crime, sensationalized world where it's like, oh, yeah, let's just go ahead and pedestalize the murderer. So, Anyway, so now that we know who the victims are, and again, just for some of you guys that are joining, because I see that we're over 1,200 now in here. Here are the 4 victims, guys, as a reminder. Just get these faces in your head as because we're going to be referring to them in the affidavit quite a bit. Ethan Chapin, Kaylee Goncalves, Xana Kernodle, Madison Mogan. And if I'm not mistaken, Xana and Ethan are in a relationship. Okay,
yes, guys? They were dating. They were dating. Yes.
They were in a relationship, and Ethan does not live at this house. It's Xana that lives at the house, and he was just visiting. So, just bad timing, I guess. All right, okay. All right, cool. So now that we did that, so they identified who the guy was. And we're going to go into the detail of how they identified this guy here in a little bit, but they ended up identifying and bringing him back to Idaho. So we're going to run this clip real quick for y'all and then go over the court documents that led to his arrest. Okay. And this was on December 29th, if I'm not mistaken.
Kohberger touching down after a cross-country Bryan Kohberger touching down after a cross-country extradition flight and turned over to a convoy of heavily armed local law enforcement, ready to serve him with an arrest warrant for the first-degree murders of 4 University of Idaho students, Kaylee Goncalves, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin. Overnight, authorities releasing these new mugshots of the suspect who is now being held at the Latah County Jail in Moscow, the city where the victims were found stabbed to death on November 13th. Next, he's expected to make an initial appearance in court where the judge will explain his rights and the charges against him. Kohberger was arrested in an early morning raid at his parents' home in eastern Pennsylvania last Friday and agreed to be extradited to Idaho in a hearing on Tuesday. His attorney in Pennsylvania said,
yeah, so guys, when you get arrested in another jurisdiction, right? And when you're arrested in another jurisdiction and they have an arrest warrant for you somewhere else that they're trying to bring you to, you have the right to fight being extradited to that other place. But in his case, right, and this guy's a PhD criminology major, by the way, he said, you know what? I'm going to get exonerated. I'm not going to fight this. I just want this process to be as expedited as possible. So he waived the extradition hearing and was, immediately flown to Idaho.
And here's one more fact, Myron, is that for the extradition hearing, all they have to present to the other state is that they have a valid warrant for your arrest. Yeah. They don't actually have to give the affidavit, the criminal affidavit. So before Bryan Kohberger came back to Idaho, he did not have, and his attorney, his public defender, would not have the information on what he's charged with. He cannot even look at the evidence. So he cannot see that till he's extradited. And he knows he's going to be extradited. If you look at the history on extradition, almost nobody wins, a defensive extradition hearing. That's not something that within the United States, one state being extradited to another state, that doesn't happen. Where it happens is internationally, in between countries. Yes, you can sometimes fight that. For example, let's look at Assange holding up in Britain, right? He was able to fight that for years. Snowden, ended up getting citizenship in Russia. So that's a situation where, you can do it if it's another country, but another state, 99, I would say, out of 1,000, 999 times they're going to extradite you, unless there's something rare and it's a very, very political crime where maybe there's a huge political, imbalance between two states. Maybe they wouldn't do it there, but most of the time they're going to extradite you. So it benefited him to not fight it and to get the evidence and prepare him for his actual trial.
The other circumstance where they won't extradite you is if the state doesn't want to pay. So a lot of the times, right, some states will, let's say you're wanted for I know some states are like broke, right? So it depends on the crime. Let's say you're wanted for, I don't know, larceny, right? In Connecticut. And then they catch you in, Texas. Well, it's going to be expensive for, let's say, a random police department in Connecticut to fly down to Texas, pick you up and drive you all the way back or fly you all the way back to Connecticut. So they might say, so let's say state trooper stops you in Texas and they find that you got a warrant out in Connecticut. They're going to call the agency that wants you, right? They're going to check you on NCIC, right? National Crime Information Center, whatever it may be, what the acronym is exactly. But it's an interstate database that's run by the FBI that keeps and lodges all, warrants, etc. Anytime you get pulled over by the police, they're running your plate through something called NLETS, and then they're also running you through something called NCIC to see if you got a warrant, okay? They see that you have a warrant in another state. They're going to contact that state and hold you there until that state lets them know if they are willing to actually come and pick that guy up. If they're willing to come pick that guy up, they will go ahead and arrest that individual, or sometimes they'll just arrest the individual because he has a warrant, bring him back to the station and then call the state there or the originating agency then and say, do you guys want him? If they say no, then they release him. Because at that point, it's like, okay, they don't want to do anything. But 9 out of 10 times it's because the state doesn't have the money or they don't have the time or resources to go get the guy because the charge isn't worth it. Obviously, a case of this magnitude, right? 4 murders, burglary, national coverage. Moscow PD is going to come up with the money somehow to go get this guy. And on top of that, they had the FBI helping them. So that also is huge because they don't necessarily have to pay, right? Sometimes to bring the individual over because they had other agencies assisting. So that's the beauty of working with different police and law enforcement agencies, especially federal, where they're able to do a lot of things for you. We're going to talk about the FBI's involvement in this investigation, how it's critical to Moscow PD, a small PD, by the way, being able to find, identify, and apprehend this guy and get him extradited over to Idaho. And then, as you guys can see, he's wearing a bulletproof vest here, and they gave him a bulletproof helmet as well. So that should tell you guys, this case obviously is national news. A lot of people want to kill this guy.
There's people that, and I will say this, guys, and I want to say this up front, is that I do believe everybody deserves their day in court. From the beginning of this country and our Constitution, our founding fathers literally defended the British soldiers in the Boston Massacre. So everybody deserves to go to court. We do need to get out of the court of public opinion where we're saying this guy is 500% guilty before he's even gone to trial. And this guy deserves to go to trial. Now, if he's proven guilty at trial, throw him away, right? Lock away the key. But he deserves that due process and to be able to present a defense to all these crimes. But yet people are willing to put a bullet in you the second that things are pointed at you, second the finger's pointed at you. And by the way, that's just as true of this guy as for Andrew Tate, right? People are willing to convict him the same way. So if we're going to say that we need due process for Tate, we need due process for everybody.
Yeah, it's got to go all the way around. You know what I mean?
All the way around. All sides, guys. Consistent.
Okay, let's keep going.
Kohberger intends to plead not guilty.
He believes he's going to be exonerated.
Body cam footage from one of...
And just so you guys know, it's common practice to always plead not guilty at your initial... Well, you can't plead at your initial appearance, but at your arraignment, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's typically that's posturing from the defense to try to negotiate, better terms. Should they plead guilty? Because think about it. If you're going to say, okay, yeah, we'll just take we'll just plead guilty. It's like, no. The defense a lot of times is trying to position themselves to get a plea agreement, right? Or a plea deal. That's how most cases in the United States are, solved, is typically through a plea agreement to some degree. So So they're always going to plead guilty. Plead not guilty at the arraignment. Nine out of 10 times.
2 traffic stops in Indiana in mid-December show Kohberger and his father driving his white Hyundai Elantra from his apartment at Washington State University to the family's home in Pennsylvania.
Holy, that's a far distance, guys. And just so y'all know, right, here's it is mapped out. It's 219 hours, 2,640 miles, all right, which is, cross country. Went all the way from Washington State, essentially, to Pennsylvania on the other side. So just so you guys have a better idea.
That is where his family lives, though. So just to be clear, that is where his family lives in Pennsylvania.
Yes, Albrightsville, exactly.
By NBC affiliate KTVB, Kohberger applied to transfer the title of that same car from Pennsylvania to Washington just 5 days after the murders and had new Washington license plates when he was pulled over.
This is an important fact.
Yeah, it is a very important fact.
Because it's based on the visibility, because certain states require front and back license plates.
Yes.
And Pennsylvania does not. They just require a back license plate, which is a super important fact for this case.
Yes.
They can be heard telling the officer about an incident involving a SWAT team at Washington State University.
And what did you say about some SWAT team thing? There was a mass shooting and everything.
That incident had no apparent connection to the murders in Idaho.
So he was a PhD student, guys, at Washington State University. Just to let you guys know how close that school is, here it is, okay? This is where the murder occurred, 1122 King Road. And then this is the Septo Apartments, which is on campus at WSU. We're talking 10.8 miles. Extremely close, guys. 15-minute drive. All right.
Idaho a month earlier. Now the quest for justice begins to play out in the Latah County courts, with victims' families and loved ones anxious for answers.
Yeah, indeed. Those answers hopefully will come soon, Gotti.
All right. So now we're going to start getting into some of the court documents here, guys, and break this down for y'all. So as you guys can see, this is the official website here where you can get all the court documents, which, shout out to the state of Idaho. I'm going to give them a Don DeMarco.
This is
available.
This is nice. This is very nice. This is something similar to what they did with the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard case. I really appreciate it because it lets everybody get the information without you flooding them for the requests.
Yeah. So, yeah, this was very smart for them to do this. I've seen a couple of states do this, but typically this is why I hate state cases, because it's very difficult to get court documents and why I like the Fed system better. But yeah, shout out to Idaho for doing this. And then, one other thing I was going to say, in the federal system, they have something called an identity hearing, which if you're arrested, right, by, let's say, federally in another jurisdiction, let's say the Southern District of Florida, which is down here in Miami, wants a guy and he's caught up in the Southern District of New York, right, which is in Manhattan area, he can request something called an identity hearing to make sure that, hey, do the feds have the right guy? Is it the right John Smith that's wanted? And then that's when the Fed, right, the agent that's involved in the case has to go on the stand and testify, yes, I know it's him because, fingerprint identification or whatever it may be. I remember I had this happen to me when I had an arrest warrant for a guy in Laredo, Texas, which is the Southern District of Texas, but they arrested him in Travis County, Texas, which is right outside of Austin. That falls into the Western District of Texas. There's 2 different judicial districts federally in Texas. So since he was caught in another district, right, same state, but a different judicial district federally, he was entitled to something called an identity hearing. And I had to drive up to Austin, I'll never forget this, and I was supposed to testify that, hey, this is the same guy that I have the arrest warrant for because I have pictures, I know who he is, etc. I have his fingerprints, whatever. He ended up waiving the hearing once I said I was going to show up, because a lot of the times what they'll do is they'll say, oh, no, we want the hearing. Then they say, okay, well, the agent's going to drive from where the hell they're at, or they're going to fly in to testify. They're like, oh, never mind, we waived the hearing. So that happens as well with extradition hearings, where there could be something called identity hearing. Right. All right, cool. So, guys, like the video, because you guys are not going to get this level of information anywhere else on the internet. You ain't going to have a former Fed and a lawyer breaking down cases, tag teaming it for y'all. So here's the, probable cause order. Okay, guys. So here are the charges that he's officially looking at. As you guys can see here, these are the state statutes here. Let me enlarge it for y'all real fast. Okay. This is the state statute 18-1401, which is burglary, and then 4001, and then 4002, 03, 04. But this is the 4 counts of murder in the first degree, okay? And typically in the United States, guys, when you get charged with something like murder in the first degree, that means there was some type of premeditation and or planning to commit the murder, which is the highest offense. And a lot of states carry either a life sentence or the death penalty for this.
Yes, and they do have the death penalty in Idaho. They do not use it as often because there aren't that many murders in Idaho.
Yeah.
But they do have it on the books. It's lethal injection.
Yeah. So basically, they are issued an arrest warrant, no bail, right, which is common for a murder one case. And you guys can see here, this was dated on December 29th, 2022 at 2:22 p.m. And then this is a magistrate judge, right, who went ahead and signed it and signed the probable cause hearing. Now, here's the thing you guys got to understand. This is all contingent upon something called an affidavit, which we're going to go over in detail, which outlines all the evidence in the investigation that led to identifying the defendant, who in this case is Bryan Kohberger. You guys can see here, born November 21st, 1994. He has a Washington driver's license, and this is, what a probable cause statement looks like, which is a little bit different. The feds don't have this, but here is the here's the state arrest warrant. This is what a state arrest warrant from Idaho looks like. I know some of you guys like to look at this. You guys can see here the case number, right? Criminal 2922 and then 2805. This is the actual case number here. This is typically the court, and then here's the fiscal year 22, and then warrant of arrest felony, Bryan Kohberger, defendant. Here's his birthday. They redacted the driver's license number, and then to any law enforcement officer of the state of Idaho, information under oath having been presented to me on December 29, 2022, and they're appearing to be probable cause to believe that the public offenses of, and then bam, they outline all the charges again.
And once again, there's a standard, just real quick. The one important thing is probable cause. So they arrest people on probable cause. Probable cause does not mean reasonable doubt, right? We don't have a high threshold. It is a very, very low minimal threshold to get somebody, arrest somebody, and bring them to trial.
Yes. So, probable cause, guys, is a much lower standard than beyond a reasonable doubt. Okay.
Right.
So basically, have been committed and accused Bryan C. Kohberger thereof. You are ordered to arrest and bring the defendant before the court at 522 S. Adams Street, Moscow County of Latah State or of Idaho, or in the case of my absence or inability to act if the defendant is arrested outside of this county, before the nearest available magistrate within the judicial district where the defendant is arrested. So basically, what this means, guys, is anyone can go pick this guy up. They're saying a law enforcement officer of the state of Idaho, but obviously this applies to all law enforcement officers, regardless of where they may be located, in case the guy isn't in the state, right? And then no bail, right? And then as you guys can see, the judge signed this as well. Everything was signed at 2:22 p.m. This was probably brought in as a package, and the judge signed everything at once, right? And then bam, here's the warrant of arrest. And then this stuff that's redacted here is more than likely personal information, personally identifiable information,
right.
PII. So because I know some people ask me, yo, Myron, what's this redacted stuff? 9 out of 10 times when it's redacted, it's personally identifiable information. So cool. So we went over the charges. We went over the arrest warrant, what it looks like. Now we're going to go into the meat and potatoes of this thing. Exhibit A. Okay.
Here it is. This is the affidavit. This is where all the crazy, insane details are. So strap in for this one, guys.
All right, guys. So we're going to go ahead. And what I have here, guys, is a bunch of different things to kind of paint a picture for you guys on this affidavit. We're going to read through it so that this all makes sense. All right, guys. So I need you guys to all, right, stop what you're doing, pay attention. All right. Like the video, subscribe to Legal Mindset, subscribe to FEDA 1811. And we're going to break this thing down. You're going to have a former federal agent who's written hundreds of these, by the way, and you're going to have a lawyer break this down for y'all. I want to make this very clear for y'all. This is not a federal case. This is a state case.
Murder
case.
One
is almost always prosecuted by the state, but the state system is nearly identical to the federal system, and a affidavit is typically written in support of getting an arrest warrant for an individual. Okay. All right. Exhibit A, statement of Brett Payne. You guys are probably wondering, who the hell is Brett Payne? Brett Payne, guys, is the law enforcement officer who swore to this affidavit. So the below information is provided by Brett Payne, who is duly appointed, qualified, and acting peace officer within the county of Latah, state of Idaho. Brett Payne is employed by the Moscow Police Department in the official capacity or position of corporal and has been a trained and qualified peace officer for approximately 4 years. CPL Payne is being assisted by members of the Idaho State Police and agents of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, aka the FBI. So one thing that stands out to me, guys, when I read this was the affiant is not a detective, rather it is a corporal, which a corporal 9 out of 10 times in a police department is going to be a uniformed officer. So as soon as I saw this, I said, okay, this is a very small police department because they don't even have a detective on board to go ahead and be the affiant on this. Typically, detectives or investigators are the ones that write up affidavits and conduct investigations. But the fact that a corporal is doing it tells me that this police department is extremely limited. Also, the fact that they got substantial as we're going to read on to the affidavit, they got substantial assistance from the Idaho State Police and the FBI. Also shows that, the police department is very small and is quite frankly limited. This is a college town, guys. They don't need, 100 man or 1,000, 50,000.
They don't have that. Yeah. They literally don't have that. If you took their whole police force, I mean, you could fit them in a large van. I mean, it's going to be small because they don't need it.
10, something crazy, Andrew.
When they talk about the resources and what they have assigned to this, they have 6 detectives assigned to this case from Moscow. And that's probably almost everybody. They probably have 1 for everything else, right? It's like 6 on this and 1 on everything else because the rest of their stuff, they're dealing with DUIs. They're dealing with very, very, people smoking pot. I mean, very normal college shit.
Yeah. Like this is one of those the police departments where the guys wear a uniform on some days, and then on other days they wear plain clothes and do like detective work, but they're not like officially detectives. You know what I mean? No. This is one of those police departments where everyone has like 3 different jobs. You got a guy that's a K9 dude,
hats,
investigator. Like, they're all.
He's also the janitor. I mean, like, he's doing 10 things.
Yeah, I've worked with small police departments like this before, bro. Very, very limited. Okay, so and this place, just so y'all know, just for context, they haven't had a murder for about 7 years. In Moscow, Idaho. So, this is how it happens.
This guy is charged with crimes which implicate the death penalty. He can be charged to the death penalty. So his attorney has to be death penalty certified. Because of that, they had to bring in an attorney from a different county. This county does not have an attorney that can actually represent him. The actual attorney has to be death penalty certified, has to have certain crimes they've covered. Now, this attorney, death penalty certified, doesn't mean they've defended a death penalty case. That means they've defended the types of crimes that are on the same seriousness level as this. So capital crimes, felonies, severe felonies. So they brought in one from out of county to defend him in this case.
Okay. Awesome. That's a good thing for the people to know, just so they understand that this entire town is not equipped for this investigation.
No. and right now he has a public defender. He was labeled by the court as indigent. That does not mean that word is also used. Some people call homeless people indigents. Yes, they are technically, but in the words of the court, in the way the court looks at it, it's, do you make under a certain amount of money, right? Whatever they set that threshold, it might be 20,000, it might be 30,000. If you make under that, you can qualify for a public defender, and that's the status of being indigent. So he counts as indigent.
Okay, because he's a full-time PhD student, so that makes perfect sense.
Where's his income? I mean, his parents are giving him some money. That's indigent.
Yeah, he has nothing. All right, on November 13th, 2022 at approximately 4 p.m., right? So, guys, police don't arrive on scene essentially until about 4 p.m., all right? Moscow Police Department MPD Sergeant Blaker and I responded to 1122 King Road, Moscow, Idaho, hereinafter the King Road residence. Okay, this is where the murder occurred, guys. And just to give you guys a visual, this is where the murder occurred right here, okay? And I will go ahead and zoom in a bit so you guys get a better look at it. As you guys can see, it's a 3-story structure, 3-story structure with multiple rooms in it, okay? And if you try to put this address into Google Maps, it's actually blurred out, which is kind of lame. All right.
Well, because people are all going.
Everyone is going. Yeah, everyone is Googling the hell out of it. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Idaho, here referred to as the King Road residence, to assist with scene security and processing of a crime scene associated with 4 homicides. Upon arrival, the Idaho State Police forensic team was on scene and was preparing to begin processing the scene. MPD officer Smith, one of the initial responding officers to the incident, advised he would talk me through the scene. Okay, so let me break this down for y'all real quick. So, as a small police department, they don't have the resources to properly canvas a murder scene like this, okay? So the state police are coming in to assist. I want to make this very clear. Anytime you're doing a criminal investigation, there's always a lead agency, okay? That lead agency, most of the time, is going to be the agency that has jurisdiction. Jurisdiction is dependent upon location. So in this case, since these crimes occurred in Moscow, Idaho, and there is a police department functioning there, they are going to take the lead. Now, could they defer the lead to the state police if they wanted to? Yes, but obviously a case of this caliber, etc., they're like, you know what? No, we're going to take lead on it. It happened in our backyard. We're going to run it. However, we are going to go ahead and get support from the state police. This is very common all across the United States, where the state police has a refined and very strong, forensics team that can come in and process the scene for you, especially in places where, you're looking at like in Idaho, Washington State, Vermont, etc. State police almost always have strong forensic teams because small police departments don't have the capacity to do it on their own, or a big sheriff's office will have it as well, depending on where you are. Now, if you're looking at like a big city police department, of course, they're going to have their own forensics team, and NYPD and LAPD, etc. But unfortunately, most police departments don't have that luxury of having in-house forensics teams, guys that can come in and process murder. So it's common where the state police are going to come in, provide assistance, but the main lead agency is going to be the agency in which where the crime actually occurred. All right. So they arrive on scene, and the Idaho State Police is on the scene. So they probably didn't want to start anything until the investigating officer that's going to take charge of the case arrives on scene. So he probably got on scene and said, all right, guys, y'all can start processing it now because I'm here, right? Mm-hmm. Officer Smith and I entered the King Road residence through the bottom floor door on the north side of the building. Officer Smith and I then walked upstairs to the second floor. Officer Smith directed me down the hallway to the west bedroom of the second floor, which I later learned through Xana's driver's license and other personal belongings found in the room was Xana Kernodle's, hereinafter Kernodle's room. Just before this room, there was a bathroom door on the south wall of the hallway. As I approached the room, I could see a body later identified as Kernodle's laying on the floor. Kernodle was deceased with wounds which appeared to have been caused by an edged weapon.
And that means a knife, right? So that's pretty much a knife. He's not coming in there with a samurai sword. They're not talking about a machete there. The weapon here is likely a knife.
Now, I will go ahead and do this for you guys visually. So they said they walked in and walked upstairs to the second floor. Officer Smith directed me down the hallway to the west bedroom on the second floor. So let's go ahead and do a visual here. So let's enter this apartment, right?
Yep.
And here we are, guys. Here is the home, okay? So the police walk in and they go upstairs to the second floor, all right? As they go to the second floor, they said they went to the west bedroom, which is going to be right here, if I'm not mistaken. Bedroom 2B. All right. And then this is where the murder occurred for Xana Kernodle's bedroom. Okay. As you guys can see, this is Xana and Ethan were found in this room. And that is these two individuals right here again for a visual for y'all. Ethan and Xana. All right. We're sleeping together, presumably, right? Because this occurred in the late morning, in the early morning hours.
Yeah, it's really early in the morning. It's 4 a.m. So they're probably in bed together, right? That's her boyfriend, girlfriend. It's happening.
Yeah, and this is the part of the affidavit where you guys can see this. But this is just a visual representation for y'all, and this is what where the bedroom is actually located. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show you guys. So on the day of the murder, they could see they don't know if this is water or blood that was seeping down. Let me enlarge this for y'all real fast. And then this is the bedroom, right here. And then this is where the bedroom is located in relation to the house. Okay, as y'all can see, where the press and the police were all parked, her window actually faces out this way. Okay, and I'll go ahead and enlarge this for y'all. And this is where her bedroom was. All right, her and Chapman. All right, and then this is an actual photo after the murder. And they're not sure if this was blood seeping from, the water or from the blood, but, that's anybody's guess. But the point is obviously anytime you have a knife murder, it's going to be extremely violent, very bloody. So that's where one of the murders occurred, right? We don't know the order necessarily, right, in which he killed them yet, or at least the affidavit doesn't specify, but that's where one of them is. So also in the room was a male later identified as Ethan Chapman, hereinafter Chapman. Chapman was also deceased with wounds later determined, autopsy report provided by Spokane County medical examiner. They redacted their name. I don't know why. Dated December 15, 2022 to be caused by sharp force injuries. I then followed Officer Smith upstairs to the third floor of the residence. The third floor consisted of 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. The bathroom on the west side of the floor was later determined to be Kaylee Goncalves' hereinafter Goncalves' room. I later learned from review of Officer Nunez's body camera there was a dog in the room when Moscow police officers initially responded. The dog belonged to Goncalves and her ex-boyfriend Jack DeCour. I might have butchered the pronunciation. Yeah. I found out
Jack, by the way, there's a fact here. Jack was the one, the boyfriend that was called multiple times. So one of the facts of this case is that during the night, the girls were calling Jack and I think, she was trying to get back with the Rex. I mean, come on, guys, that's for another situation. But she was calling repeatedly, and so he was initially, a lot of people, Redditors, other people out there, the internet sleuths, thought he was the potential, and potentially involved in this. But the police have cleared Jack of any wrongdoing here.
Yeah. I found out from my interview with Jack DeCour on November 13, 2022. So they interviewed him that day.
Yes.
That he and Goncalves shared the dog. Officer Smith then pointed out a small bathroom on the east side of the 3rd floor. This bathroom shared a wall with Madison Mogan's, hereinafter Mogan's bedroom, which was situated on the southeast corner of the 3rd floor. So let's go ahead and do a visual on this one, guys. Right? So they go up to the 3rd floor now, and we're following the police's footsteps here. Okay. So now we're gonna go up to the 3rd floor. And the 3rd floor, right, you go up. And I think they said it was the west side bedroom. So this one right here.
Right.
Okay. And this bedroom here, guys, is where Goncalves was. Confirmed this victim gave Kaylee Goncalves' bedroom, right? So as you guys can see, this is from the affidavit that we read from before.
Yeah.
This, right, is where the dog was in the room during the murders, right?
The dog was all right, guys. The dog was all right.
The dog was
concerned about the dog.
So the dog was in the room as she was being murdered. Okay, and you guys are going to hear about this in a second in the affidavit. Also, here's a picture of the bedroom. Okay, and she also had this is the balcony view from her bedroom.
Yeah.
Right. So this is where she was murdered. As I entered this bedroom, I could see 2 females in the single bed in the room. Okay, so hold on, my bad. So we talked about Goncalves' room. This bathroom was shared with Madison Mogan, hereinafter Mogan's bedroom, which was situated on the southeast corner of the 3rd floor. As I entered this bedroom, I could see 2 females in a single bed in the room. Both Goncalves and Mogan were deceased with visible stab wounds. I also later noticed what appeared to be a tan leather knife sheath laying on the bed next to Mogan's right side when viewed from the door. Okay, so both Mogan and Goncalves, guys, were killed. Again, and it's these 2 girls right here.
And so one of the facts was that there were phone records of them trying to call Jack, trying to call him. So they had a bunch of missed calls. I think it was something like 13 missed calls or something from both, and both of them were trying to call him late at night. Calls from both their phones, and also they were up, and I believe one of them was on TikTok. So they were up fairly late, and that was confirmed by the phone records.
Yes. So just so you guys have a visual. So we know that Xana and her boyfriend were killed down below on the 2nd floor, and then Kaylee Goncalves and Madison Mogan were killed on the 3rd floor in what appears to be, I think, Goncalves' bedroom. Okay, because they were both found in the same room, which is this one right here, guys. Okay.
Yep.
So going back to the affidavit. Okay, as I entered this bedroom, I could see 2 females in a single bed. Okay, I also later noticed that what appeared to be a tan leather knife sheath laying on the bed next to Mogan's right side. When viewed from the door, the sheath was later processed and had K-bar, United States Marine Corps, and the United States Marine Corps Eagle Globe and anchor insignia stamped on the outside of it. The Idaho State Lab later located a single source of male DNA suspect profile left on the bottom snap of the knife sheath. So you guys might be wondering, hey, what the hell does one of these knife sheaths look like? Let me pull up a picture for y'all.
You got it? I got one if you need it real quick.
You got one? Yeah, can you share? Yeah, can you share?
Oh wait, no shit, that's not the shit. Sorry about that. Let me get this. Here, I'll just share my screen real quick.
Yeah, go ahead, share your screen. I'll
yeah, just there you go. It's just a nice picture of a K-bar here.
There you go, guys.
So, yeah, this is a K-bar right here. It's going to have the USMC globe here. This is a very, this is a knife that is made for stabbing and killing people, right? So this is something that is, made by the U.S., as U.S. Marine Corps, intended to actually be used, in combat in situations that would involve stabbing people. There's a snap here. This is very important. This is a leather case. Now, we don't know whether this is the actual exact model, but I guarantee you, based on the description, that the snap is constructed the same way. So in the sheath right here, U.S. Marine Corps logo, the stamp there, and the snap. And we're going to talk about that snap because that snap may be the DNA evidence that seals this case.
Yep. Yeah. So that's okay. So just a quick little review, because this is a very important piece of evidence here, guys. I'm going to share this with y'all one more time. Hold on, let me pull up this thing. So, okay. As you guys know, just to give you guys a visual, in this bedroom on the 3rd floor, Kaylee Goncalves' bedroom, she was here, right? Kaylee Goncalves, right here, with Madison Mogan. They were in this bedroom together trying to call Goncalves' boyfriend, or ex-boyfriend, excuse me, Jack, right? This girl. And I guess they fell asleep together. The killer walked in and killed both of them in this bedroom, and the dog was here, okay? And also, we're going to get into another piece of evidence that was very important as well, as far as a neighbor's surveillance camera, okay? That picked up some sounds. So, both of them were killed right here, and in this bedroom, a sheath was found, okay? Here was the, do they have where the knife, where's the knife?
Right next to the body. It was on the bed. So
yeah,
it was right next to the body on the bed. So once again, it's circumstantial, but that's a hell of a circumstance. Yeah. How did your knife sheath end up next to a dead body in a room that is in a different city than which you live? It's close by, but how did it end up there? Why was it there?
Yeah, exactly. So the Idaho State, so they got this knife, right? The Idaho State Lab later located a single source of male DNA suspect profile left on the button snap of the knife sheath. Okay, so that's very important. As part of the as part of the investigation, numerous interviews were conducted by Moscow Police Department officers, Idaho State Police detectives, and FBI agents. 2 of the interviews included BF and DM. Again, you guys are probably wondering, who the hell are these girls? That is these 2 women right here. Okay, remember, guys, I told y'all before, these are the 2 surviving victims of the home, and they give some pretty chilling details on what the hell happened. Okay, so we're gonna go with who they interviewed first. I think they interviewed DM first, right? Who is this girl? This girl. Yep. All right. Okay. So BF and DM were inside the King Road residence at the time of the homicides and were roommates to the victims. BF's bedroom was located on the east side of the 1st floor of the King Road residence. So, okay, 1st floor, she was right here. All right. So you walk in this way. Is it? No, it's not this one, because I think this bedroom was empty at the time. Yeah, this bedroom was vacant at the time of the murders. My bad. It's going to be this one probably.
And I think that the dog was moved to the vacant bedroom.
Oh, yeah. When they were doing the investigation, I think so. Yeah. Or was the dog barking? No. The dog, I think, was there when they
we'll go into that. It's in the affidavit. It's in the affidavit.
Okay. Is this it? Yeah, this is okay. So this is her bedroom. Yeah, Bethany Funk's bedroom. So this is BF right here, guys. Okay, this is this girl's bedroom right here. Okay. Yep. So now that y'all have a visual representation. So the killer walks in right here and he goes right upstairs. He doesn't even really spend any time on the 1st floor like that. All right. So, because he was in the house for probably around 10 to 15 minutes from my estimate. But let's keep
the window they have put is between 4 and around 4 to 4:20s, 4:25, right? But there's a question: was he there before the DoorDash? Was he inside the building before the DoorDash or not?
Yes,
like that's a huge factor.
Also, more than likely, my bad. The killer probably came in through the 2nd floor, not the 1st floor. Yes. Sorry about that. He came in through the 2nd floor, guys. So that would make sense why the people, why the girl on the 1st floor wasn't involved in this. All right.
Yep.
So anyway, okay. So they interviewed the 2 witnesses that we just discussed, right? Based on numerous interviews conducted by MPD officers, ISP detectives, and FBI agents, as well as my review of evidence, I have learned the following. On the evening of November 12, 2022, Chapin and Coronado were seen by BF at the Sigma Chi house on the University of Idaho campus at 735 Nez Pierce Drive from approximately 9 p.m. on November 12th to 1:45 a.m. on November 13th. BF also estimated, remember guys, this one is surviving with victims BF, Bethany Funk, also estimated that at approximately 1:45 a.m. Chapin and Coronado returned to the King Road residence. BF also stated that Chapin did not live in the King Road residences, but was a guest of Coronado, who is his girlfriend.
Right.
Goncalves and Mogan were at a local bar, the Corner Club at 202 North Main Street in Moscow. Goncalves and Mogan can be seen on video footage provided by the Corner Club between 10 p.m. on November 12th and 1:30 a.m. on November 13th. At approximately 1:30 a.m., Goncalves and Mogan can be seen on video at a local food vendor called The Grub Truck at 318 South Main Street in downtown Moscow. The Grub Truck live streams video from their food truck on the streaming platform Twitch, which is available for public viewing on their website. This video was captured by law enforcement.
Okay, let me say one thing about the Grubhub food truck. This is another big one for Reddit, like for one against the internet. The internet, investigators here, they saw a guy in a hoodie who looked a little sketchy, who I think he was trying to holler at one of them at the Grubhub food truck. I also saw people giving wild conspiracy theories that, these people at the Grubhub food truck are secretly shadowy figures, following them. They're getting drunk food at 1:30 a.m. Like these are like drunk hoes getting food at 1:30 a.m. And the guy was clearly, to me, when I watched the feed, was trying to holler at them. And he was investigated, cleared, and it was not him. But that was a big theory early in this case.
And don't worry, I got the footage too. I got y'all. A private party reported that he provided. Which is available for public viewing on their website. This video was captured by law enforcement. A private party reported that he provided a ride to Goncalves and Mogan at approximately 1:56 a.m. from downtown Moscow in front of the Grubhub truck to the King Road residence. Okay, guys. So here's
this one. And by the way, the ride was confirmed to be one of those campus kind of drunk buses. They got those at a lot of big campuses. You can call a ride late at night. So it was like one of those, you call a ride, it's like a minivan that rolls up and grabs you and takes the drunk people home. So it's, it's actually everything you're supposed to do to be safe, right? They were actually following the most safe procedures to get home when you're drunk. They just weren't safe once they got home.
Yeah. So here's footage, guys, from this truck. Hold on. I'm going to go ahead and unmute the thing. My bad. I think the tab is muted. Oh, my bad. This thing is muted. All right.
This video from a Moscow food truck that's from early Sunday morning. It shows two of the students, Kaylee and
There you go. So y'all can see two of the victims right here, pretty much.
Maddie ordering food around 1:40 a.m. This is one of the last times they were seen. Moscow police say this video is helping investigators recreate a timeline of events from that night.
And it has helped. It gives us a time and space where we know that two of our victims were, and that helps us a ton, and we'll continue to follow up all leads that we can.
The family of Kaylee Goncalves have seen the video and agreed to let us publish it. They identified Maddie Mogan wearing the long black jacket and Kaylee, who is with her, in the white sweatshirt.
Okay, so there we go. Those are the two right there. Hold on, let me rewind it back.
And they were getting some food. They were actually like flirting with the guys. When I said I've watched the entire video, you can actually get the audio of it. They put it up on Twitch, so this was public, right? Yeah. So a lot of people grabbed it. They may have taken it down because it was so highly demanded and it was evidence potentially. But the internet got it off of Twitch before they yeeted it. And to me, looking at it, and I reviewed all of it, it just seems like this was a normal late night interaction with drunk kids who are in college, right? Yep. There's nothing weird about this. This was totally normal. What happens on a college campus at night?
Yeah, this is common. So
in the white sweatshirt.
It's normally a place where everyone feels really safe.
Joseph Woodall is the manager of the Grub truck. He is seen in the video working the cash register.
And these are the two girls right here, bam, the two victims.
Taking the girl's order. This afternoon, he described their interaction with me.
One of the blondes was just a little bit more cheery and kind of bouncing around a little bit more. And then one was like standing there and doing the hello, how are you? And goes through the interactions. And normally that's pretty normal. In most of our groups, there's people that are more energetic and people that are managing the energetic people.
Might have been the girl that had the ex-boyfriend that was trying to call him that night. As you guys know, right? They were obviously drinking a bit, getting some food. Get back home, maybe the feels start to come in. What the hell? I'm going to call my ex, call him like 6 or 7 times. 2:00 in the morning, he's probably asleep, right? So
Joseph told me he felt incredibly sad when he learned the news about the girls he had just seen the other night.
I hope they find the person. Hope they get the person.
All right. So that is the footage right there. So let's go back to the affidavit, right? So as y'all can see, this all paints a picture because this is all very important for the timeline. Okay, so this is the Grub truck. So DM and BF, again, the two surviving witnesses, guys, right? Just to put pictures again, DM and BF are these two girls right here, okay? Dylan and Bethany, all right? This is Dylan right here. This is Bethany on the left, all right? Both made statements during interviews that indicated the occupants of the King Road residence were at home by 2 a.m. and asleep or at least in their rooms by approximately 4 a.m. This is with the exception of Kernodle, who received a DoorDash order at the residence at approximately 4 a.m. Law enforcement identified the DoorDash delivery driver who reported this information. DM stated she originally went to sleep in her bedroom on the southeast side of the second floor. DM stated she was awoken at approximately 4 a.m. by what she stated sounded like Goncalves playing with her dog in one of the upstairs bedrooms, which were located on the 3rd floor. A short time later, DM, again, this is Dylan, said she heard who she thought was Goncalves say something to the effect of, "There's someone here." A review.
Okay,
Okay.
so once again, there's going to be a lot of little things where you're like, okay, at what point do you think something is wrong? So this is Dylan in a room. She hears this, and just let's keep a note that in this, after all the things she hears here, she does not call the police. So keep asking yourself, at what point would you have called the police? At what point would you have sought help? At what point would you have checked on something? Like, at what point of you would have done more than she did? So just ask yourself that as we go through this.
Okay. A short time later, DM said she heard who she thought was Goncalves. Is it Goncalves or Goncalves?
It's like more like Gonzalez, but it's, I think, the Portuguese version, right?
Okay.
So it's like the Portuguese version of Gonzalez.
All right. Oh, okay. So I'll say Goncalves, I think, because that's what the newscaster said.
Gonzalez, yeah.
Say something to the effect of, "There's someone here." A review of records obtained from a forensic download of Coronato's phone showed this could also have been Coronado, as her cellular phone indicated she was likely awake and using the TikTok app at approximately 4:12 a.m. So that's very important, right? So we know she was alive at 4:12 a.m., right? DM stated she looked out of her bedroom but did not see anything when she heard the comment about someone being in the house. DM stated she opened her door a second time when she heard what she thought was crying coming from Coronato's room. DM then said she heard a male voice say something to the effect of, "It's okay, I'm going to help you."
Okay, now that statement, I will say right there, like, if you hear a weird, strange male voice, and I don't know what tone it was, right? But let's imagine it was like, "It's okay, I'm gonna help you." You know, like, do you not, after it's, "There's somebody here," was the last thing you heard, and then you hear that?
Yeah.
Just asking. Do you call? Have you called yet?
So at approximately 4:17 a.m., a security camera located at 112 King Road, a residence immediately to the northwest of 1122 King Road, picked up distorted audio of what sounded like voices or a whimper followed by a loud thud. A dog can also be heard barking numerous times starting at 4:17 a.m. The security camera is less than 50 feet from the west wall of Coronato's bedroom. Okay.
So here's another. So a security camera that is in a different residence, not in this it is across
right here.
Right? Okay, yeah, there. So that security camera picked up the thud.
Yeah.
This camera. So she definitely heard it even louder in her room, which is way closer than this other residence.
Yep. And this is the other residence, guys. So here's where the murder occurred. Here is where the security camera was positioned. Now, if you guys look, this camera, right, is on this side over here. Here is Coronato's room. So you guys have a visual, right? Literally, just about, I think they said in the affidavit it's about 50 feet or something like that. Not too far, 50 yards, something like that.
50 feet, yeah, 50 yards, yeah.
So here's her bedroom right here. So they were able to hear that from there. Here's a side view of it, right? So here's her bedroom right here. This area on the side.
And those sliding doors right there on the second level, you see those sliding doors? Those are the likely, and those are they guess that's the entry point, the sliding doors.
Yes.
Because people often forget to lock their sliding doors.
Yes. All the doors, by the way, guys, when the police showed up, were open at this house. People don't lock their doors in this area. You know what I mean? It's a very safe area in general. Yeah. So going back again, show y'all, go back up to the second floor. So one of the girls, DM, which I'm going to show you guys where her bedroom was, heard the thud and everything else coming from Coronato's room. All right. And again, just so y'all can see what I'm saying from a visual representation. All right. This is where her room was, facing the side. And the camera, guys, is off to the left over here in the neighbor's property. That's how I was able to pick up that sound. Okay, which goddamn, that camera must have been good. You know, which is common. You know, a lot of landlords, when you're leasing out to college students, you're gonna have good security equipment because I'll be honest with you, I'm a landlord. I got 12 properties. I don't want to lease to college students. They fuck your place up, man. So yeah, you're gonna have some good equipment in there to protect your stuff. All right. So then, let's go back. So that now we know where the camera is, right? The security camera is less than 50 feet from the west wall of Coronato's bedroom, which we just showed y'all. DM stated she opened her door for the third time after she heard the crying and saw a figure clad in black clothing and a mask that covered the person's mouth and nose walking towards her. DM described the figure as 5'10" or taller, male, not very muscular, but athletically built with bushy eyebrows. Okay? The male walked past DM as she stood in a frozen shock phase. The male walked towards the backsliding glass. DM locked herself in her room after seeing the male. DM did not state that she recognized the male. This leads investigators to believe the murderer left the scene. So guys, holy, that's a lot. So let's go ahead and figure out. So DM's room, guys, as y'all can see, right? Because I want you guys to visually see what she saw. Okay. So her bedroom on the southeast side of the second floor. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look at DM's bedroom. All right. So you come here, back to the first floor, second floor. Her bedroom is right here. This is Coronato's bedroom, or excuse me, DM's bedroom.
So she's she's literally right there. You have to pass by her bedroom to go anywhere.
So Dylan Mortensen's bedroom on the night of events. So this is what her bedroom looks like, right? And this is from the affidavit where her bedroom is, right? Which we just read that. And then supplementary review. So this is what the bedroom looks like from the inside, right? Here's an actual photo of it. Now, this is what she saw. So imagine this. You're looking at your door, right? And you see a dude in black coming towards you from here, right? Because he just finished. She heard the thud from over there. You hear you see a dude coming in all black. Mind you, it's probably pitch black in this area. It's dark as hell.
It's 4 a.m.
Right? And then he ended up leaving a footprint here, and he exits out this way right here. See, here's the kitchen, and here's that sliding door that we showed you guys from before.
So it goes out that door, through the kitchen and out that door.
Right? And this is the patio. This is a picture of the kitchen. And here's another picture of the kitchen. Right? But yeah, so going back to her room.
You can see, actually, this view is great. That view from the kitchen is great because you see when you're looking at that kitchen view, Myron, if you can go back to that last one, you can see where the footprint is, like from the kitchen facing the bedroom, right? You can see, okay, there you go. See the opening of the door. So imagine he's standing right there, that close to her. She opened the door and is face to face with him. That's what she said in her affidavit.
Yeah.
He walks by after hearing all those things, after hearing the loud thud, after hearing the dog barking, after hearing it's okay, I'm going to take care of you, her say there's somebody here, all those things. And she goes to bed, and it's not until the next day that a friend calls the police. Yep.
So yeah, I mean, imagine, guys, this is her view. This got to be this would be like literally horrifying. You're standing and you see a dark figure come wearing all black with a mask on. You could just see them bushy ass eyebrows, and he walks past you. Now, what I'm assuming is that he didn't see her with the door, because she probably had the door cracked open and she could see a little.
Or even if she opened it, it's also possible that he had lost kind of his night sight, because let's say that his eyes had adjusted to the rooms upstairs where they were awake and probably had all the lights on. So his eyes might have been shifted, so he could not see her with her lights off. Maybe she had her lights off in her room and looked out there or peeked out, and he just didn't see that.
Yeah. That's true as well. So and
also, by the way, we don't know whether or not she was intoxicated. We have no idea if DM was intoxicated at all. The one thing I will say, the one thing that can maybe explain this, which I would want to hear at trial, is: were you drunk? Were you high? Like, what were you doing that night? Because I mean, what was your state of mind that you saw all these things and didn't say anything? That's going to be, I think that's why Dylan DM is the number one liability for the prosecution in this case. I think it's going to be something that the defense is going to really harp on.
Yeah, they're gonna beat the shit out of her on cross.
Yes,
I'll tell you that.
Yes.
So she looked at so basically she sees this guy, right? This shadowy figure, okay, coming through with bushy eyebrows. The male walked towards the backsliding glass door. DM locked herself in her room. After seeing the male, DM did not say she recognized the male. This leads investigators to believe the murderer left the scene. All right, so you got an eyewitness that saw an unknown male in the room, in the house. The combination of DM's statements to law enforcement, reviews of forensic downloads of records from BF and DM's phone, and video of a suspect video, as described below, leads investigators to believe the homicides occurred between 4 a.m. and 4:25 a.m. And I mean, hell, we know that she was on TikTok at 4:12. I would put it even closer to they got killed somewhere between 4:12 to 4:25.
So when they say the homicides happened between 4 and 4:25, he may have been in the residence, but they got a DoorDash in there. They were on TikTok. So you know certain things happened. So it really puts the murders within like maybe an 8-minute range. It was a quick in, out, stab, out.
Yep. During the processing of the crime scene, investigators found a latent shoe print. This was located during the second processing of the crime scene by the ISP forensic team by first using a presumptive blood test and then amino black, a protein stain that detects the presence of cellular material. The detected shoe print showed a diamond-shaped pattern similar to the pattern of a Vans-type shoe sole just outside the door of DM's bedroom, located on the second floor. This is consistent with DM's statement regarding the suspect's path of travel. Once again, let's take a look at this, guys. Here is where the footprint was found, okay? And this is what it looked like, all right? Well, a Van-type shoe with this type of print. Now, the other thing I also want to say was, man, this is why serial killers went crazy in the 70s and 80s, bro. They did not have this type of technology back then because, just so y'all know, they pulled protein.
Well,
right?
I was going to say, can you talk about, like, because when I speak with other attorneys on this, and I have talked with attorneys on this case, if you want to check out my discussions, I talked with a public defender on this case the other day, Andrea Burkhart, and this particular evidence, just the amino black, right? Yes, it's new, right? It's great. But the shoe print alone, I mean, this by itself doesn't convict somebody, right?
No.
I mean, and here's the other thing too. How many people were walking through that blood before they called the police? Because they didn't call the police till the other day. They thought they were passed out, and they actually called a friend who came in, checked them, realized they were dead, not just unconscious, not just drunk, and called the police.
Yeah. I mean, this is, it's basically from blood. So what more than likely happened, right? Assuming that this guy, the person wearing the shoes, obviously when you're stabbing people, there's going to be blood all over the place. So, and he probably more than likely at some point stepped in blood. You step into blood, that's going to go ahead. There's protein in human blood. And what the investigators are able to do, and I'm really glad the state police went ahead and did a second processing of the crime scene, right? And they were able to find this shoe print. And
they didn't get it on the first pass. So would that happen with the FBI? Would that happen with the feds, Myron? Would they miss it on the first pass?
Yeah, well, this is the state police in this case because the Bureau is not going to have the same sophisticated murder investigative tools that the state is going to have, because feds typically don't do murders. So the state police a lot of times are going to have superior methodologies for processing a crime scene as far as a murder goes. And it was the state police that processed this scene. The FBI comes more in touch with the cell phone stuff. But as far as the processing of the scene, it was the state police that did this. So they did a second processing, which is actually really good that they did this. And they're able to find this protein stain from blood. And they were able to find the shoe print. Now, I'm willing to bet that more than likely they went ahead and compared Chapin's shoe size to that of the suspect. And there's probably discrepancy, which is why they were able to eliminate, oh, this isn't Chapin's shoe, right? A male that we know that frequents the home. And that's how they're able to use this as a legit piece of evidence. Yes. And also the other thing too is that this shoe print was consistent with DM's statement regarding the suspect's path of travel. Remember, she saw him walk past her right here, and they found a shoe print. And she was like, "Okay, he walked this way," and then they found the shoe print right in this area. I guarantee you that her statement is what made them say, "Okay, let's go back and canvass this entire area from where she saw this individual," and then bam, they found that shoe print off of her testimony. That's what made them go back and do it a second time.
Oh yeah.
All right, cool. So as part of the investigation, an extensive search, commonly referred to as in law enforcement as a video canvass, was conducted in the area of the King Road residence. This video canvass was to obtain any footage from early morning hours of November 13, 2022 in the area of King Road residence and surrounding neighborhoods in an effort to locate the suspects or suspect vehicles traveling to or leaving from the King Road residence. This video canvas resulted in the collection of numerous surveillance videos in the area from both residential and business addresses. I have reviewed numerous videos that were collected and have had conversations with other MPD officers, ISP detectives, Idaho State Police, and FBI agents that are similarly reviewing footage that was obtained. A review of footage indicated that a white sedan here and after suspect vehicle 1 was observed traveling westbound in the 700 block of Indian Hills Drive in Moscow at approximately 3:26 a.m. and westbound on Steiner Avenue at Idaho State Highway 95 in Moscow at approximately 3:28 a.m. On this video, it appeared suspect vehicle 1 was not displaying a front license plate. Remember how Andrew talked about that, guys? Certain states, you don't have to necessarily have a front license plate, which in this case is Pennsylvania, and we'll find out why. Because normally Idaho, you're supposed to, right?
And yeah, and the thing is that in Washington as well, right? Both states, Idaho and Washington, and they make that clear here. But here's the thing: if you're a student and you're just there, there's certain rules that sometimes you're not required to do that. But typically, if you live somewhere for more than some states, it's 10 days, 30 days, you're required to update it. It's annoying, and frankly, from my legal standpoint, I think they should ban that because I think you should be required to acknowledge other states' driver's license. But that being said, you are supposed to do that under current law. Update your tags and your title. So that's something that, or not, sorry, update your tags, not your title, but update your tags. And he was due to do this, but because he was following it under the Pennsylvania rules, he did not have it displayed, which made it harder to track his car.
Good point. And we got 2,500 plus y'all in here, man. Do me a favor, guys. Like the goddamn video. Subscribe to Legal Mindset. Subscribe to Fed at 1811. Let's keep going here. Review footage from multiple videos obtained from King Road neighborhood showed multiple sightings of suspect vehicle 1 starting at 3:29 a.m. and ending at 4:20 a.m. These sightings show suspect vehicle 1 makes an initial 3 passes by 1122 King Road. Remember, as you guys know, where the murder occurred, and then leave via Walenta Drive. Based off my experience as a patrol officer, this is a residential neighborhood with a very limited number of vehicles that travel in the area during the early morning hours. Upon review of the video, there are only a few cars that enter and exit this area during that time frame. So that's important to know because obviously, what is a vehicle doing in that area that early in the morning? Suspect vehicle 1 can be seen entering the area a 4th time at approximately 4:04 a.m. It can be seen driving eastbound on King Road, stopping and turning around in front of 500 Queen Road, number 52, and then driving back westbound on King Road. And don't worry, guys, I have a visual that's going to show you guys this in a second. I'm just going to get through it, and then I'll show it to y'all. When suspect 1 is in front of the King Road residence, it appeared to unsuccessfully attempt to park or turn around in the road. The vehicle then continued to the intersection of Queen Road and King Road, where it can be seen completing a 3-point turn and then driving eastbound again down Queen Road. Suspect vehicle 1 is next seen departing the area of the King Road residence at approximately 4:20 a.m. at a high rate of speed. Remember, guys, 4:20 a.m. is when the murders were pretty much almost done, right? Suspect vehicle 1 is next observed traveling southbound on Walenta Drive. Based on my knowledge of the area and review of camera footage in the neighborhood that does not show suspect vehicle 1 during the time frame, I believe that suspect vehicle 1 legally exited the neighborhood at Palouse River Drive and Conestoga Drive.
Yeah.
Palouse River Drive is at the southern edge of Moscow and proceeds into Whitman County, Washington. Eventually, the road leads to Pullman, Washington. Pullman, Washington is approximately 10 miles from Moscow, India. Both Pullman and Moscow are small college towns, and people commonly travel back and forth between them. Again, guys, visual representation for y'all. This is where Moscow is versus where Pullman, Washington is. Okay, this is the address of the suspect, 1630 Northeast Valley Drive Road versus 1122 King Road. We're talking about 11 miles. Between the two.
And remember, this is the country, so you can go pretty fast out there. A lot of this is very rural. There's nothing out there but cows to tip over. I mean, you got the state line right there, that dashed line. That's the Idaho-Washington border. So this is just over the border, right? Yep. So this is very, very, very close. In fact, the airport is on the Washington side, not on the Idaho side.
Exactly. So also, okay. So now we know the path that he kind of took. So I got this visual representation for y'all here. All right. This is what it looks like, right, with the path. Okay. You can see here 3:26 a.m. observe. And shout out to 10 of Life. She mapped this out. But you can see here 3:26 a.m. observed traveling westbound, right? 3:28 observed traveling westbound again. This is the route he took. 3:29 entered the neighborhood. 4:04 a.m. Here he is at Queen Road. right? Passes by 1122 King 3 times, and then at 4:20 a.m. he speeds away. All right, and then likely exited this way. So this is kind of the path that the affidavit shows. Now we're going to go ahead and do the actual visual representation of this occurring. All right.
The car is doing a little like Fast and the Furious
You guys can see it's moving a little fast here.
Tokyo drift action there at the end when it speeds away from the scene.
Her art isn't the greatest, but you guys get the idea.
The path is accurate.
Yeah, the path is the point.
Video is not meant to be funny, but I understand that it kind of is given the skill set.
Damn.
So the video is pretty quick, so I'll play it twice, but it basically shows the vehicle coming into the neighborhood, kind of doing its little drive that's outlined in the affidavit, parking for a while, going in the house, obviously, and then speeding away from the scene.
Bam.
So let me just say one other thing too. This is just what happened on the night of. That's just the drive-by on the night of. We're going to see, based on other evidence, this was not the first time he was there. In fact, he was there driving by multiple times before, based on cell tower evidence, and we can talk about that type of evidence.
Absolutely.
They're alleging that he was there multiple times casing out the joint, and that potentially he went by the house after the murders. The morning after, he drove back all the way over there, drove back, and specifically went in front of the house after the murders.
Bam.
Crazy.
So now we're gonna go. So now we got the video footage, right? So we saw the route, right, of how this potentially went down. Now we're gonna get into the cell phone stuff, all right? Okay. Okay. Well, actually, no. We're gonna go into identifying the vehicle, suspect vehicle 1. Okay. Law enforcement officers provided video footage of suspect vehicle 1 to forensic examiners with the FBI that regularly utilize surveillance footage to identify the year, make, and model of an unknown vehicle that is observed by one or more cameras during the commission of a criminal offense. The forensic examiner has approximately 35 years law enforcement experience with 12 years at the FBI. His specific training includes identifying unique characteristics of vehicles and uses a database that gives visual clues of vehicles across states to identify differences between vehicles. Okay. You guys probably wonder, what the hell? Okay, to boil it down for y'all, this guy is an expert using grainy surveillance footage, which is very common in businesses, homes, etc., to identify vehicles that are used during the commission of crimes. They look at certain things, right? They're able to enhance the video, number one, and then they're able, with his expertise, okay, I see this little fender here, I see this thing here, okay, I can, from my professional experience, I know that this is this car, approximately this year, this make, etc. And that obviously whittles down a bunch of potential vehicles it could be and help you hone in on a target vehicle. Okay. After reviewing numerous observations of suspect vehicle 1, the forensic examiner initially believed that suspect vehicle 1 was a 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra. Upon further review, he indicated it could also be a 2011 to 2016 Hyundai Elantra. As a result, investigators have been reviewing information on persons in possession of a vehicle that is a 2011 to 2016 white Hyundai Elantra. Okay, so fairly accurate. Now he's boiled it down to specific make and model and year range. As you guys know, a lot of these vehicle producers, they kind of get lazy. The model stays very similar, for a span of time, right? To obviously cut down on production costs, which is good for law enforcement. So they're able to pin it down. Okay, it's this year's these years of makes.
Right.
So investigators were given access to video footage on the Washington State University campus located in Pullman, Washington. A review of that video indicated that at approximately 2:44 a.m. on November 13, 2022, a white sedan, which was consistent with the description of the white Elantra known as suspect vehicle 1, was observed on WSU surveillance cameras traveling north on Southeast Nevada Street at Northeast Stadium Way at approximately 2:53 a.m. A white sedan, which is consistent with the description of the white Elantra known as suspect vehicle 1, was observed traveling southeast on Nevada Street in Pullman, Washington, towards SR-270. SR-270 connects Pullman, Washington to Moscow, Idaho. This is what they're talking about, guys. This road
took that road. Yep.
This road right here is what they're referring to.
270.
As you guys can see, this road, 270 connects to two towns. All right.
Right. So there's kind of two ways you can see. There's that way. I think that's the quickest. There's also, if you see that road right under it, I think there's that kind of a little slightly longer way to go there. But yeah, at any point, here's the other thing. At any point, as you can see, it's very rural. So you can see that area in the middle there. Yeah, that area right there. The just the green, all that. Yeah. We don't have a murder weapon right now. We don't have his clothes.
Nope, we do not.
So that stuff Could be anywhere out there in that rural area in the cut in between Moscow and Pullman, or Moscow and Pullman.
So, okay, this camera footage from Pullman, Washington was provided to the same FBI forensic examiner. The forensic examiner identified the vehicle, observed that Pullman, Washington as being a 2014 to 2016 Hyundai Elantra. So now they're able to whittle it down even more. At approximately 5:25 a.m., a white sedan, which was consistent with the description of suspect vehicle 1, was observed on 5 cameras in Pullman, Washington, and on WSU campus cameras. The first camera that recorded the white sedan was located at 1300 Johnson Road in Pullman. The white sedan was observed traveling northbound on Johnson Road. Johnson Road leads directly back to West Polhouse River Drive in Moscow, which intersects with Conestoga Drive. The white sedan was then observed turning north on Bishop Boulevard and northwest on SR 270. At approximately 5:27 a.m., the white Elantra was observed on cameras traveling northbound on Stadium Way and Nevada Street, Stadium Way at Grimes Way, Stadium Drive at Wilson Road, and Stadium Way at Cougar Way. So what does this all mean, guys? Basically, they were able to go ahead and get camera footage from, probably a combination of businesses, red lights, road cameras, etc., to be able to determine the path of this vehicle, because this vehicle matches, right, the description of the vehicle that they saw on the night of the murder in the area of King Road where the murders occurred. Okay, guys, so you see what's going on here? So they identify the vehicle. All right, it's a white sedan, suspect vehicle 1. All right, FBI profiler, tell me, vehicle expert, tell me what this vehicle could potentially be. All right, it's a white Hyundai Elantra between this. Okay, cool. So then they're able to go ahead and use that original, right, video surveillance footage from the murder area and combine and compare it to other camera footage that they have from roads, businesses, etc. And they were able to match that vehicle to the suspect vehicle in the original footage from the murder scene. Okay, guys, so that's how they're able to do this. I know you guys are probably like, okay, I'm a little confused here. What's going on? That's essentially how it boils down in a simplified version.
And also think about it, guys. There's so many traffic cameras now. This is something, like I said, it's different nowadays. We got traffic cameras, we got rings, we got businesses with cameras everywhere. We got security footage. We got all these things. So you can put these together and line these up. And that does take a while, right? That does take, a couple weeks to process that. And remember, everybody and their mother was submitting proof, evidence on this. They're calling in with tips. This was something they were getting a flood of information on, and they needed a massive amount of resources, far beyond what they have in Moscow, to be able to process this.
I'm willing to bet they had probably 100+ law enforcement officers working on this case, looking at surveillance footage. And they said in the beginning, they did a video canvas. Guys, when they do a video canvas, we're talking like a 20-mile radius. They're grabbing footage from everybody. Yo, we need we need some video footage from your business, etc. And they were just gathering this stuff and comparing all the surveillance footage, and that's how they were able to piece all this together. Obviously, they're boiling it down and summarizing it on this affidavit for y'all, but they went through hundreds of hours of surveillance footage to find this stuff out. All right, and the affidavit, this is shitty, but I already showed you guys the route on Google Maps. Okay, so they're showing a depiction of the white Elantra's path of travel, not to scale, and then here it is again, which is trash.
And by the way, it's a trash quality image. Like, this is why the internet always does win on this. Like, budget graphics versus like just going to Google. Oh, I will say, Myron, you might want to click on the car icon instead of the bike. But it's like, listen,
my bad. Where's the car? Oh, my bad.
No, that's funny because it would take you only. But here's the funny thing: when you clicked on the bike, it was only an hour if you were biking. So I'm saying, like, it's 19 minutes if you're driving. It's nothing. It's absolutely nothing.
And the way this guy drove, he probably made it back in like, he
was booking it. Yeah, he was booking it, man.
All right. So let's go back to the affidavit here. All right. So on November 25th, 2022, MPD asked area law enforcement agencies to be on the lookout for a white Hyundai Elantra in the area. So they put a bolo, guys, okay, out for everybody. On November 29th, 2022, at approximately 12:28 a.m., Washington State University police officer Daniel Tiengo queried white Elantras registered at WSU. As a result of that query, he located a 2015 white Elantra with a Pennsylvania license plate LFZ 8649. This vehicle is registered to Bryan Kohberger, hereinafter Kohberger, residing at 1630 Northeast Valley Road, apartment 201, Pullman, Washington. That's how they fucking got him. Bam. So this guy, shout out to Officer Daniel Tiengo, queried white Elantras registered at WSU. So he gets a bolo from Moscow PD, and they're like, yo, white Elantras, be on the lookout. He goes and queries.
Okay, that's what it is. Just because, I mean, yeah, Myron, you know, I'm glad I'm here to like call Myron sometimes when he uses words. Bolo is be on the lookout, right?
Yes,
that's the slang.
Sorry.
Yeah, because you just dropped this. When I'm hanging out with Myron just dropped this LEO terms. I'm like, you got to explain this to the people, man. The people need to know.
You're right. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes. Yeah. So they put that out to all the law enforcement area. This guy, right, probably bored because he works as a university police officer, right? I'll be honest with you. A lot of time they're just sitting in their cruiser querying tags for fun. I'll give it 1,000, man.
But they're bored. They're bored. They got nothing to do. This is not normal for them. This is completely something they've never done in their entire lifetime.
Yeah. So you got a murder case, 10 miles away, and they're saying, yo, a white Elantra. He's like, you know what? Let me look at the white Elantras in my area. So bam, he queries, and that's why they had to put his name in here, because this is a big find. He's the witness.
Right.
They have to. That's why
he's a witness now. He's a witness now. 100% he's a witness.
Yeah. So, and they even put the date and time that he identified this. So that tells you right there the importance of this find. All right. So he located 2015 white Elantra, Pennsylvania license plate LFZ 8649. This vehicle is registered to Bryan Kohberger, hereinafter Kohberger, residing at 1630 Northeast Valley Road, apartment 201, Pullman, Washington. And just so y'all know, right? So going back to these apartments, I'll go ahead. We don't want direct. No, hold on. I want to go ahead and try to give you guys the satellite location, or the satellite. You know what? Hold on.
Image.
Where's that? God damn it. You know what? I'll just put it in right here. Bam. Here it is, guys. And I'll give you guys a Septo. Here we go. This is it. This is the area. Septo Village. Yeah. This is basically where this guy lives, apartment 201 in this area. I think that's
guys. Look at the background of this place. Like if you want to know how rural this is, like look at the building and then look what's behind it. This
trees.
Is not a dense urban area. Imagine nighttime here. It's probably pitch black.
Yeah, and you guys can see the W here. This is all Washington. Probably 90% of these people are students, right? And this is where he basically lived. Oh, look at that with the nice little rainbow.
Oh, how wholesome.
How nice. And then here, guys, is a satellite view. So as you guys can see, here's the Valley Road playfield, which they had mentioned. Septo Apartments, the Grove Apartments, Pullman. So this is the area where this guy lives, which is all WSU. This is all WSU stuff, right? Student Rec Center, Beasley, Coliseum, etc. All right, let's go back to here. Okay, 6030 Northeast Valley Road is approximately 3/4 of a mile from an intersection of Stadium Way and Cougar Way. Last camera location that picked up the white Elantra. Let's see here. Intersection of Stadium Way and Cougar Way. Oh, it's right here. My bad. Stadium Way and Cougar Way. Do you see it here anywhere, Andrew?
Yeah, to zoom in a little bit. Just a little bit. If you can zoom in a little bit more.
I'm trying to find where the camera more than likely got him.
Probably one of the major intersections. I mean, it's probably going to be at one of the. Yeah, it's probably going to be one of the major intersections.
Somewhere in this area here.
Probably in that area, yeah.
All right, but
there's Stadium Way. There's Stadium Way right there. So right down there, you see Stadium Way, right by the stadium, literally by the stadium.
Right here.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be there. Yeah, that's Stadium Way right there. So this is a major thoroughfare. It's going to be on a major, arterial street.
So they picked them up on a camera somewhere on this road,
yes.
on this street, right? So just so y'all have an idea. Technology, man. All right. Stadium Way and Cougar Way, last camera location that picked up the white Elantra. The same day at approximately 12:58 a.m., WSU officer Curtis Whitman was looking for a white Hyundai Elantra and located a 2015 white Hyundai Elantra at 1630 Northeast Valley Road in Pullman in the parking lot. So bam, guys, literally, they identify the car at 12:28. By 12:50, they got the car identified and they got eyes on it. Okay. Right. So the shout out to WSU police officers. They're probably bored, but they're like, yo, we're going to find this guy, bro. So they find him right within 30 minutes. All right. 6030 Northeast Valley Road is an apartment complex that houses WSU students, which we showed you guys pictures earlier. Officer Whitman also ran the car and returned it, and it returned to Kohberger with a Washington tag. Remember how I told you guys they run your car through a database? They probably ran it through something called NLETS, National Law Enforcement Telecommunication System, which allows you guys to go ahead and get state information on vehicles, boats, tags, all that stuff. I reviewed Kohberger's Washington State driver license information and photograph. This license indicates that Kohberger is a white male with a height of 6 foot and weighs 185 pounds. Additionally, the photograph of Kohberger shows that he has bushy eyebrows. Kohberger's physical description is consistent with the description of the male DM saw inside the King Road residence on November 13th. As you guys remember, DM, when she said, I saw that male, she said he was about 6 feet tall, athletic build, not muscular, but athletic build, bushy eyebrows. Go ahead, Andrew.
So I'm just going to say, okay, without the DNA evidence, like from a defensive point of view, like if all they had was her description of a dude with bushy eyebrows who's taller than 5'10" and wearing black. No, that's not like, first of all, she would get destroyed on cross-examination. Her reliability is pretty much zero. Her not calling the police, all the other stuff. So if that was all they had, how many dudes are out there with bushy eyebrows? What the fuck is a bushy eyebrow?
And this is a look at the suspect. I mean, you can make an argument that his eyebrows are bushy to a degree.
But once again, Myron, how many guys are out there who are 5'10" and up with bushy eyebrows? That alone is not enough. However, you don't take evidence alone. You take evidence together, right? Absolutely. So this is offered as one piece of evidence together with other circumstantial evidence that put him at the scene, including the sheath. And I think most importantly, the sheath, which we'll get to.
Absolutely. And this is the power of, circumstantial evidence only works with other pieces of circumstantial evidence.
Yes.
So they have to work together. All right. So there we go. So they said, so he looked at his picture and he said, okay, this guy has bushy eyebrows as well. So further investigation, including a review of Latah County Sheriff's Deputy CPL Duke's body cam and reports, showed that on August 21st, Bryan Kohberger was detained as part of a traffic stop that occurred in Moscow, Idaho, by Corporal Duke. At the time, Kohberger, who was the sole occupant, was driving a white 2015 Hyundai Elantra with Pennsylvania plate FZ A649, which was set to expire on November 30th, 2022. During the stop, which was recorded via a law enforcement body camera, Kohberger provided his phone number as they redacted the first part, but it ends in 8458. Hereinafter, the 8458 phone. Now, guys,
you might just want to say the phone or Brian's phone, because saying 84458 sounds crazy, but
So I'm just gonna say Brian's phone, okay, guys? So
it's his phone. It's his phone. We know it's his phone.
As a cellular telephone number, investigators conducted electronic database queries and learned that Brian's phone is a number issued by AT&T. All right, so he was stopped, guys, by Latah County Sheriff's Deputy Corporal Duke. Okay, so he stopped by another law enforcement agency on August 21st, 2022, and they confirmed that this guy is the actual user of this Hyundai Elantra. On October 14, 2022, Bryan Kohberger was detained as part of a traffic stop by a WSU police officer. Upon review of that body cam and report of the stop, Kohberger was the sole occupant, was driving a 2015 Hyundai Elantra Pennsylvania plate LFZ A649. Now, why are they doing this, guys? They're showing that he is the driver of this vehicle, and he's been stopped multiple times by law enforcement, and pretty much is the main driver of the vehicle. This is very important for them to establish, because they're trying to link it back as the suspect vehicle they saw on the camera footage from before. On November 18th, 2022, according to Washington State licensing, Kohberger registered the 2015 white Elantra with Washington and later received a Washington plate CFB 8708. Prior to this time, 2015 Elantra was registered in Pennsylvania, which does not require a front license plate to be displayed. This was learned through communications with a Pennsylvania officer who is currently certified in the state of Pennsylvania. Based on my own experience and communication with Washington law enforcement, I know that Idaho and Washington require front and back license plates to be displayed. So, the fact, guys, so this is important. The fact that the suspect vehicle only had a license plate not on the back and not at the front actually helped the police to narrow down the potential vehicles that could have been the suspect vehicle. So they were able to figure out, okay, this guy, okay, now that he has a Washington plate now, but in the past he had a Pennsylvania plate, and that only required one plate on the back, not necessarily the front. And what does that do? That matches him up with the suspect vehicle that they saw in the area at the time of the murder. See how this is all linking, guys?
Right. It wasn't that he was breaking a law, because he wasn't actually breaking any laws. He was doing what was required in Pennsylvania and then what was required in Idaho and Washington. It was the fact that it matches up. It's consistent with the description.
Yep. So investigators believe that Kohberger is still driving the 2015 white Elantra because this vehicle was captured on December 13, 2022 by a license plate reader in Loma, Colorado, provided by a query to a database. Bro,
okay, hold on. Who got that information? Who's getting that information in Colorado? Who's getting that one, Myron?
Yo, there's license plate readers all over the country, bro. Like it all over the country. So The fact that they were able to pull that, I mean, that's why serial killers, people underestimate this. I've talked about this before. Why serial killers like Ted Bundy, the Night Stalker, etc. A lot of these serial killers that went crazy in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. A lot of Samuel Little. A lot of them were able to get away because the interstate highway system, right, being able to move from state to state fairly easily, law enforcement being limited, technology not being available, like license plate readers, etc., and forensics not being available as well. So, if this occurred in the 70s, this dude will probably be still running around killing people on college campuses.
Oh, yeah,
right?
no, there's no way. I mean, with the amount of evidence we have here that's all digital, is technological, we probably would have never found this DNA evidence. This was the 50s, 60s, 70s. Yeah, this guy's out here looking for the next murder.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay, Kohberger's Elantra was then queried on December 15 by law enforcement in Hancock County, Indiana. So I know for a fact they probably did this through looking through Endless to see who queried this car.
I was going to say, did the feds help with this? Is this a Fed thing, or could the state law enforcement access this database?
Law enforcement could do this because everyone has.
They don't need the feds.
No, you don't need the feds for this one. Everyone has access to NLITS, which is National Law Enforcement Telecommunication System, which is the state database, and everyone has access to NCIC, which NLITS. So NCIC is at the top. NLITS is a component of NCIC, and all state law enforcement agencies have access to it. So they were probably able to look and see who else queried this car nationally, and that's how they were able to identify that Hancock County queried it. And then as far as the license plate reader goes, there's a bunch of different databases that law enforcement agencies can use that are connected to license plate readers all over the country. On December 16, 2022, at approximately 2:26 p.m., surveillance video showed Kohberger's Elantra in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. The sole occupant of the vehicle is a white male whose description was consistent with Kohberger. Kohberger has family in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. Learned through a TLO search and locate tool database query. Okay, I used to use TLO when I was an agent. They give you a whole bunch of TLO, guys, the database that typically searches through utility searches, social security number, etc., to see what is registered to people. And this is how you get a bunch of information as far as where people live, etc. Because when people pay bills, well, guess what? Those bills got to be connected to some kind of address. A lot of the times you want those bills to be connected to a correct address, or better yet, if you're getting some kind of benefit where you're getting paid, maybe checks are being sent to you, etc., you're definitely going to put the right address because you want to get paid. So TLO pulls a lot of that data for you. I've used TLO when I was an agent myself. Based on information provided on the WSU website, Kohberger is currently a PhD student in criminology at Washington State University. Pursuant to records provided by a number of the interview panel for Pullman Police Department, we learned that Kohberger's past education included undergraduate degrees in psychology and cloud-based forensics. Very interesting. These records also showed Kohberger wrote an essay when he applied for an internship with the Pullman Police Department in the fall of 2022. Kohberger wrote in this essay he had interest in assisting rural law enforcement agencies with how to better collect and analyze technological data and public safety operations. Oh my God.
So here's the thing. Imagine this guy, this killer, ended up working with cops. Imagine if he was in the police department at the time of the murders. He could have well been. This guy could have well been inside the police department and committing murders at the same time. And this next part here, when he posts this Reddit survey, this is one that has gone crazy viral online. One of the huge case facts people flip out about. I'll say something about it. I've read the survey. He posted a question. This was to people who have committed crimes, to criminals, saying, after you, when you did a crime, how did you think and feel about it? How did you think and feel about it afterwards? I will say, this is normal questions to ask for a criminology student. That's the whole point of criminology, to understand criminals. You got a bunch of feds studying criminology. It's normal for them. It's creepy when you view it knowing that he potentially did this. When you know he's suspect number one, it makes it creepy.
Yeah.
It makes it really, really creepy.
But yeah, it is common that you would, for your research, you would do that.
You'd ask the mind of a murderer. That's what the FBI tries to get into, right? You try to understand, why do people kill, right? You try to understand, why do people commit crimes? Why do people, do these things? You want to know why they commit crimes. That's criminology. There's 10,000 criminology students graduated every year in the United States. Most of them aren't killers.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have one guy who is so obsessed with it, who probably thought about it and thought about it again. And this paints a very scary picture.
Absolutely. All right, so now we're going to get into the phone data, guys. All right, so we got two parts here. We got physical evidence, right? We got video surveillance, and then we got being able to use that video evidence to identify the vehicle. Now we're going to get into the phone stuff. As part of this investigation, law enforcement obtained search warrants to determine cellular devices that utilize cellular towers in close proximity to the King Road residence on November 13, 2022, between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. After determining that Kohberger was associated to both the 2015 Elantra and the 8458 number that we discussed earlier, investigators reviewed these search warrant returns. A query of Kohberger's phone in these returns did not show the phone utilizing cellular towers resource in close proximity to the King Road residence between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. So the phone did not hit the towers, guys, on the night of the murders between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. Based on my training experience, the conversations with law enforcement officers that specialize in utilization of cell phone telephone records as part of investigations, individuals can either leave their cellular telephone at a different location before committing a crime or turn their cellular telephone off prior to going to a location to commit a crime. This is done by subjects in an effort to avoid alerting law enforcement that a cellular device associated with them was in a particular area where a crime is committed. I also know that on numerous occasions, subjects will surveil an area where they intend to commit a crime prior to the date of the crime, and Andrew alluded to this earlier. Depending on the circumstances, this could be done a few days before or for several months prior to the commission of a crime. During these types of surveillance, it is possible that an individual will not leave their cellular telephone at a separate location or turn it off since they do not plan to commit the offense on that particular day.
Let's talk about this, Byron. I want to talk about this with you because this is where I think people think they're smart. And this guy, he was studying criminology, probably thought, assuming this guy's motive, right? This is a lot of assumptions here, right? But let's say you're a person who thinks they're smart. Everybody's watched CSI. You watch the crime shows. They're going to track your cell phone. So you're like, all right, I'm going to turn that thing off. I'm not going to have that thing on. I'm having it on airplane mode, right? And yeah, they can't track it then. But guess what? If you've been in the area before or after that day, they're going to figure that out. They're going to enter that evidence. Did you have your phone off at all times? At all times where you were at all relevant places? Probably not. A lot of people think they're smart. But this just shows he was not as smart as, well, he probably thought he was.
Yeah. So, no, that's a good point. And just for the audience, so you guys can understand this. So the way that law enforcement does this when it comes to like cell phone towers, etc., you could do what you call a historical ping. Okay. This is what we call in law enforcement as a historical ping warrant, where you could write a search warrant if you believe that an individual was in a certain location during the commission of a crime and they had their cell phone with them. You can articulate, yo, I think this person was at this time, and you can write up a search warrant. You write the search warrant up, and what happens is you give that search warrant to the phone company. In this case, they're going to give it to AT&T. AT&T, right? You write an affidavit just like this, articulating your facts. You get it signed by a judge. You get a search warrant. Bam. You give the AT&T the search warrant package. They go ahead and give you all the location data. Now, this is really big for law enforcement guys to establish a pattern, a subject's pattern of movement, if they were at a certain area in the commission of a crime, etc., because you can't really dispute cell phone data. And this type of data is what I would call almost irrefutable. All right.
You think really, Myron, do you think it's irrefutable data?
I mean, irrefutable as far as like the phone was at this location at this time.
Okay, because the way I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, the way I understand triangulation works, it can put you in a general area, but it can't put you in a specific spot, right? Because it's gotta say, okay, you were in this general area, right? Or the phone was in the general area, right? But it can't say you were exactly here. It can kind of say it's triangulation, right?
So
and
it depends.
Also,
go ahead, please.
No, and also like it depends on how many towers, right? Because if it's 2 towers only, it could be a wide area. It could be a 5-mile area, 2-mile area, right? And in rural areas, the towers might be further apart. So you might actually be dealing with an area where some of these pings are coming from towers that are quite far away.
Yeah. So, okay. So that's a good point. So when I used to do this myself, right, and I used to write these types of warrants, the type of data you got was heavily contingent upon the service provider. So I'll give you an example. T-Mobile gives you fantastic location data. It's down to the meter almost, which is why WMLE fucked. Yeah. Right. From my personal training experience, I remember this. T-Mobile would give you fantastic stuff. So anytime I saw a guy and they were using a T-Mobile phone, because first what you have to do is you have to subpoena the phone and figure out, are they subscriber and what service it is. If it was T-Mobile, I was like, fuck yeah, because they're law enforcement liaisons that help you out with this stuff. a lot of the times the data comes back very good because I don't know what it is about T-Mobile towers, but they're able to point it down sometimes to the meter.
How's AT&T? How's AT&T?
Not as good depending on where it is. It's really contingent upon where it is. So in a rural area like this, yeah, you might not get it down to the meter. You might get it, in a general area based on what it is. But the point is that it's irrefutable as far as like it will determine that the phone was in this area at this time.
Sure.
With a general like distance of where area of where it would have been in. So it's really good for establishing that someone was in an area at a certain day and time, and depending on the service provider, depending on the cell towers, depending on the area, depending on all this other stuff, they can point it down even to the meters to some degree. Which is why.
Quick question. What was the most trash tier data? Like, we got Cricket up in here? Like, what was the worst? Who gave you the worst data?
No, it's funny because a lot of the times, like the shittier cell phone providers have more accurate data.
Really?
Well, T-Mobile sucks, but like they would get it down to the meter, which is why 1W Melly is fucked. Like his provider was T-Mobile, and they had him down to the meter when he was doing all that bullshit, trying to cover up the crime. But like Verizon, for example, is not as good for some.
Really? That's funny.
It's really weird, dude. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, Verizon gave me a hard time sometimes as far as like accuracy.
That's funny. All right. No, that's good to know. See, that's good to know that it varies on provider. That's something, guys. So you're only going to get here. You're only getting from Myron, a guy who's actually looked at this type of data and actually says, hey, it just depends. We really don't know yet. So that's fantastic. Thank you, Myron.
No. Of course, man. But yeah, AT&T can be spotty for sure. AT&T can absolutely be spotty. But from what I remember, T-Mobile gave the best. On December 23rd, 2022, I applied for and was granted a search warrant for historical phone records between November 12th, and this is what we call a historical ping warrant, right, in the law enforcement world, for historical phone records between November 12th, 2022 at 12 a.m. and November 14th at 12 a.m. for Kohberger's phone held by the phone provider AT&T, and he did this approximately 24 hours preceding and following the times of the homicides, which is good that he did this so he can narrow it down, right? So on December 23rd, 2022, he gets the stuff back. And it says, pursuant to that search warrant, I received records for Kohberger's phone from AT&T. These records indicated that the phone is subscribed to Bryan Kohberger at an address in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, and the account has been open since June 23rd, 2022. These records also include historical cell site location information, CSLI, for Kohberger's phone. So historical cell site location, guys, information basically is like, where was the phone on certain dates and times? I'll boil it down for y'all. It could get a little bit more complex than that, but that's basically what it is. Okay. Now, this is where the FBI comes in. Because remember, guys, this is a corporal. He doesn't do investigations. Now you're getting into more sophisticated methodologies of conducting an investigation. And he's not going to know how to interpret this data. Right? So he goes ahead and consults with the FBI special agent that is a certified member of the Cellular Analysis survey team. So they went hard. They want someone from CAST. All right. Members of CAST are certified with the FBI to provide expert testimony in the field of historical CSLI and are required to pass extensive training that include both written and practical examinations prior to be certified with CAST, as well as the completion of yearly certification requirements. Additionally, the FBI CAST SA, a special agent that it consults with, has over 15 years of federal law enforcement experience, which includes 6 years with the FBI. From information provided by CAST, I was able to determine estimated locations for the Kohberger phone from November 12, 2022 to November 13, 2022, the period authorized by the court. So this is a good job by this corporal. He went above and beyond and actually got an expert to help him interpret this data. Now, myself, I used to interpret this data myself all the time. I didn't call nobody from CAST. What the hell? I could do it myself.
Well, are they good though? Do they have a good reputation? Like, are they people that you'd heard about? What did you know about these guys?
Yeah, so I'll be honest with you. I didn't even know that the Bureau had a cellular analysis survey team, because normally when I had trial, right, and I was using phone data, I would call someone from the phone company themselves to come and testify. So, but the FBI is a big agency, so I'm not surprised that they have their own agents that can be expert, provide expert testimony and this type of stuff. But me as an HSI agent, when I went to trial and I used phone data, I would call someone from that cell phone provider, right? That's a law enforcement liaison, to come in and testify to the data. But I would interpret the data myself, because I would look at it, because I did a lot of cases that were drugs and human smuggling and all this other stuff. And a lot of times these cases are conspiracy cases. And whenever you have conspiracy cases, well, how do they communicate? Well, through phones. So for me, I got really good, really quickly at, looking at cell phone data to connect criminals, etc. Using pen registers, using trap and traces, which he's going to get into here, and I'll explain that for y'all as well.
They talk about that, right?
Yeah, and I'll talk about that for y'all, because I used to do this stuff myself. So Give me it, man. Yo.
Once again, where are you gonna get this? Where are you gonna get this? To somebody who's done this, someone who can break it down. It doesn't exist on the internet. You get a bunch of fools who don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They don't know the actual practice and they don't know the law. Guys, smash the like button, guys. We gotta get up. We gotta
Smash
get up
the like
here.
button, subscribe to Legal Mindset, subscribe to Fed 1811, because nobody's gonna be able to tell you. Because I actually have done these search warrants. I've done hundreds of them. And I've also interpreted that data, and I know exactly how this stuff is, so I can go into a little bit more detail to explain to you guys how these search warrants work, how the data is interpreted, etc. Okay, but this guy, right, this corporal, right, obviously he's not used to this type of this is what I'll call like sophisticated investigative techniques here. So obviously he's going to go ahead and consult with someone from the FBI that's involved in this investigation and get an expert that can actually help him with this, which is really good on his part. On November 13th at approximately 2:42 a.m., the Kohberger's phone utilizing cellular resource to provide coverage to 1630 Northeast Valley Road. Remember, guys, that's his apartment in Pullman, Washington, at Pullman, Washington, here and after the Kohberger residence. At approximately 2:47 a.m., right, and this is on November 13th, the day of the murder. At approximately 2:47 a.m., the phone number utilized cellular resource that provide coverage southeast coverage southeast of the Kohberger residence, consistent with the Kohberger phone leaving the Kohberger residence and traveling south through Pullman, Washington. This is consistent with the movement of the white Elantra. At approximately 2:47 a.m., the Kohberger phone stops reporting to the network, which is consistent with either the phone being in an area without cellular coverage, the connection to the network is disabled, such as putting the phone in airplane mode, or that the phone is turned off. So the phone, guys, right, starts traveling south and west almost, right? Maybe towards Moscow. They don't know. But the phone gets turned off at 2:47 a.m. And we know, and by the way, we know because it's not turned on again until 4:48 that it's almost entirely turned off. It's not an area without coverage, because once they turn it back on, where is it? It's south of Moscow. Exactly. And here's the other important thing. They tracked the phone with the surveillance footage, right, that they had of the Elantra. So regardless of the fact that he turned his phone off and AT&T was no longer able to ping the phone, they had the surveillance footage and they were able to take the independent data from the phone as well as the independent data from the surveillance cameras and put them together to create this timeline. All right? All right, so let's keep going. So the Kohberger phone does not report to the network again until approximately 4:48 a.m., at which time it utilized cellular resources that provide coverage to ID State Highway 95 south of Moscow, ID near Blaine, Idaho, north of Genesee. So if I'm not mistaken, that, guys, is right. 95? Oh, right here. So he was on this highway for some odd reason, to some degree, it looks like. Right? That's what they're saying in the affidavit? Yeah. 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 Covers highway south of, Highway 95 south of Moscow, ID near Blaine, Idaho. So he was over here somewhere. Let me see if I can see Blaine, Idaho anywhere here. Oh, right here. Bam. All right. This is where it was like hitting in this general area here, guys. All right. At what time? This was at around 4:48 a.m. is when it comes back on. All right. Between 4:50 a.m. and 5:26 a.m., the phone utilizes cellular resources that are consistent with the Kohberger number phone, traveling south on Idaho State Highway 95 to Genesee, Idaho, then traveling west towards Uniontown, Idaho, and then back north into Pullman, Washington. Okay, fantastic. So now we got his route, right? So basically, he went south into Genesee, right? And then he comes back, and then comes back up this way to Pullman, which is a very strange route to take. But hell, he probably is like, bro, I don't want to be anywhere near this shit. I want to go for a drive. I'll just kill 4 people. Who knows what his mindset was at this point, right? But it seems that this is the route that was taken. Going back to the affidavit. Yeah, and then north back into Pullman. Yeah, so Uniontown, Idaho. So Uniontown is right. How far south did he go? Genesee. Where the hell is y'all see? You see Uniontown anywhere here, Andrew?
Uniontown? I believe that was to the right. Yeah, once again, these small places.
Yeah, bro, that shit is in the middle of nowhere, but y'all get the idea. He came down and then came back and then went west and then went back up into Pullman through one of these routes here. Okay? on the day of the murders.
I found it. It's so dude, it's so small.
It's so small.
Yeah, it's south. It's halfway between Lewiston and there. So go right north of. Okay, see that kind of square? There you go, Uniontown. See it? White line. Go down. Right.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Go, yeah.
So you went down this way and then came back up this way. All right.
Yep. So he did a detour. That's a real detour right there.
So this is his route, guys. So the phone gets turned back on right around this area at 4:48 a.m. And then he comes all the way down here, then comes back, crosses the state border, and then comes back up this way into Pullman. He probably didn't want to be anywhere near the area.
Well, and he probably thought he was being smart. He was like, "Oh, look at me! I went far out of my way. I went way out of my way."
Exactly. Yep. Okay. Let's see here. So at approximately 5:30 a.m., the Kohberger phone utilized resources that provide coverage to Pullman, Washington, consistent with the phone traveling back to the Kohberger residence. So by 5:30 a.m., guys, he's almost home. Kohberger's phone movements are consistent with the movements of White Elantra that observed traveling north on Stadium Drive at approximately 5:27 a.m. Based on a review of Kohberger's estimated location of travel, the phone travel is consistent with that of the White Elantra. So again, guys, they're comparing the cell phone stuff with the surveillance footage because, as you guys can see, he had the phone turned off for a significant part of his travel. Further review indicated the Kohberger phone utilized cellular resources on November 13, 2022 that are consistent with the Kohberger phone leaving the area of Kohberger residence at approximately 9 a.m. and traveling to Moscow, Idaho. Specifically, the Kohberger phone utilized cellular resources that provide coverage to the King Road residences between 9:12 a.m. and 9:21 a.m. The phone next utilized cellular resources that are consistent with the phone traveling back to the area of the Kohberger residence and arriving to the area at approximately 9:32. So he went back to Moscow at around 9 in the morning. Yeah, at around 9:12.
Yeah.
He was in the area.
He went back there. So imagine what he did now. So this is more evidence. He went back. This is what the phone resources are saying, that he went back. And as long as it's reliable evidence, which Byron is pointing out here, this is pretty damn good evidence. This is pretty strong evidence that he went back. What type of person? First of all, what business did you have on that road? Like I said, it is a small residential street. You only go down that street if you really live on that street. It's not like this is a dense urban area. You're taking a shortcut through a random road. No, you're going back. Who does that? And it goes back to motive. It goes back to somebody who did something, wants to see if the police are there, wants to see what's going on. So this is very, very, very suspect behavior.
And here's another thing too. Just so y'all know, the police weren't called until about 12. So he was able to go into the area and there wasn't law enforcement presence yet. So he was able to freely drive around, see what's going on. Okay, the cops aren't here yet. Okay, I'm going back. So, and remember, guys, this is only 10 or 11 miles from his house. So he's able to quickly go over there, check it out, see what's going on. Police aren't there. All right, cool. So why would he be there on a Sunday, right, to check it out at 9 o'clock in the morning? Because I know his defense might say, well, it's possible that he could be in that area because, it's a party town. People come in all the time. He might know some people in that area. Okay, cool. That's a good defense. But why would he be there on the day of the murders, 5 hours after the fact? Why? Right? On a Sunday. That makes no sense. So here's the route that he took, guys, which we actually mapped it out earlier as to when he was driving back after the murder, which we mapped it out for y'all because that shit is trash. But this is it right here. Bam. Come up this way, and he took a whole roundabout route to do it. Okay, which probably added a significant amount of time to his drive. All right. Investigators found that the phone did not connect to a cell phone tower that provides service to Moscow on November 14, 2022, but investigators do believe that the phone was in Moscow on that date. The 8458 phone has not connected to any towers that provide service to Moscow since that date. So he hasn't been back there, guys, since the 14th for obvious reasons. Based on my training experience and the facts of the investigation thus far, I believe that Kohberger, the user of the phone, was likely the driver of the White Elantra that observed departing Pullman, Washington, and that this vehicle is likely suspect vehicle 1. Additionally, the route of travel for the phone during the early morning hours of November 13, 2022, and the lack of Kohberger's phone reported to AT&T between 2:47 a.m. and 4:48 a.m. is consistent with Kohberger attempting to conceal his location during the quadruple homicide that occurred on King Road residence. On December 23rd, I was granted a search warrant for Kohberger's historical cell site data from June 23rd, 22 to current prospective location information and a pen register and trap and trace on the 58 phone to aid in efforts to determine if Kohberger stalked any of the victims. And in this case, prior to the offense, conducted surveillance on the King Road residence, was in contact with any of the victims' associates before or after the alleged offense, any locations that may contain evidence of the murders that occurred on November 13, 22, the location of White, a launcher registered to Kohberger, as well as the location of Kohberger. That was a mouthful.
So first of all, that's what they're talking about is the amalgamation of evidence. So that's based on all of that evidence taken together. That's enough to issue the search warrant. So that was the basis for the search warrant. They had enough at that point, which I would agree with. I would agree they met their legal burden to get a search warrant at that point. Myron, can you explain what a pen register and a trap trace is? Because I think that's something that, you know, when it's like pen register, I got a pen right here. I don't think you're talking about the type of pen I'm talking about. Can you explain that a little?
Yeah, I'll break this down. I've done so many of these, guys. So a pen register, guys, trap and trace is basically, it's not even a search warrant, guys. It's actually a court order. All you need is reasonable suspicion to get one. What a trap and trace does is it gives the agent or the affiant or whoever is requesting the court order access to the phone to look at every person they contact real time. Okay, so
that's crazy. That is crazy.
Yeah. So let's say I do a trap and trace on Andrew's phone, right?
Right. Oh shit. I'm shit. My DMs, man. All right.
Now it doesn't tell me where the phone is, right? That's a search. You would need to do a ping warrant to do that. Okay, that's the important distinction. That needs a search warrant. But to do a trap and trace, aka a pen register, all that needs is a court order, which is required for reasonable suspicion. You don't even need probable cause for it. What it does is it tells me real time who he's contacting, which number, and whether it's a phone call or a text message. So it tells me who he's contacting real time. That's all I see. I don't see the contents of the information. I don't see any real, sometimes they give you duration of like how long the phone call was or whatever. But in general, it just tells you who he's contacting. And the reason why they're doing a pen register is they want to see, yo, did he contact any of the victims? Did he have communication with them, etc.? Which to me kind of seems a little weird, but you could get historical stuff as well with the trap and trace. And they also want to see who he's calling at the time that they're looking at him. They want to see if he's calling any other co-conspirators. They're trying to see if he committed this crime by himself. Is he contacting maybe a car washing business? Maybe is he contacting other people that might try to help him get rid of evidence? So they're seeing real time who he's communicating with and who he's in contact with, so they can identify other co-conspirators. This is really important in drug investigations, right? So if I know I have an individual who's committing drug trafficking offenses, for example, and I know he's utilizing his phone to commit these offenses, I will go ahead and do a trap and trace on his phone. And what that will allow me to do is it will allow me to identify maybe a source of supply, runners, money couriers, other members of the organization, etc. So trap and traces are really good for identifying other members of some type of conspiracy and see who the hell they're communicating with. Now, a pen register trap and trace is required for you to get what I call a Title III intercept, which is listening to phones, because you need to establish that the phone is dirty. He's communicating with criminals through the pen register. Then you write a Title III affidavit saying, I need to see the contents of this communication that I'm getting real time because I know it's criminal activity. I've identified 7 of these phone numbers he's in contact with as drug traffickers. So that's how a trap and trace is typically utilized in investigations. So this is a little bit overkill for a murder case. I ain't gonna lie to y'all, but this is them, going really hard and trying to identify other people that may have been involved in this thing. Guys, like
awesome.
the
Thanks for that breakdown, man.
So yeah, they went hard. So they want to go ahead and get everything in regards to his phone. On December 23rd, 2022, pursuant to that search warrant, I received historical records for the Kohberger phone from AT&T from the time the account was open in June 22. So they got everything now. After consulting with the CAS special agent, right? Remember, guys, this is the FBI agent that is a expert when it comes to phone data. I was able to determine estimated locations for the phone from June 22 to present, the time period authorized by the court. Now, this is a big find, and Andrew alluded to this earlier.
Yeah.
The phone records for the phone, for Kohberger's phone, show the phone utilizing cellular resources that provide coverage to the area of 1122 King Road on at least 12 occasions prior to November 13, 2022. All these occasions, except for one, occurred in the late evening and early morning hours of their respective days.
Think about this, guys. He is there in the morning, in the late evening, early morning hours, unless he is showing up to smash. Like, why are you in that area? Like, what reason could you possibly have to be in that area during the early morning hours? Why?
Yeah, that's facts. I mean, yeah. I mean, so, and also, guys, right? I'll tell you guys this with serial killers and murders a lot of the times, especially guys that are premeditated. Yeah. The BTK, bound, torture, kill serial killer that went, that terrorized Wichita, Kansas for 30 years. He used to stalk all of his victims for months, okay? for months. He would get their pattern of life, know who lived in the house, etc., plan their stuff out. So they were able, right? Because on the day of the murder, his phone, right? It wasn't in the area, right? Because it was turned off. But prior to the murder, they called him 12 different times in that area, in that vicinity, at odd hours of the day and or night. All right. So that's strange. Right? Definitely some more circumstantial evidence, right? Does that mean
once again, no. it doesn't prove his guilt alone, but taken together, it's starting to look really, really bad. This is a very small residential road. You don't just roll down here. It's not on the way to Pizza Hut. It's not on the way to a bar. It's not downtown. This is a random residential road. You do not go in this 12 times unless you got a reason to go in it 12 times.
Absolutely. I mean, and I'll show you guys. I think I have a map here. Yeah. So here's the area, guys. There ain't nothing out here. It's just a bunch of houses. You know what I mean? There's really nothing out here. So if you're going here, you more than likely live here. There's no other reason for you to come out here, right? Okay. On one of these occasions, on August 21st, 2022, the phone utilized cellular resource providing coverage to the King Road residents at approximately 10:34 p.m. to 11:35 p.m. At approximately 11:37 p.m., Kohberger was stopped by Latah County Sheriff's Deputy Corporal Duke, as mentioned above. The phone was utilizing cellular resource consistent with the location of the traffic stop during this time, Farm Road and Pullman Highway. So guys, this is huge. So they stopped him, a county sheriff's deputy stopped him on August 21st, 2022, when he was in the area from 10:34 to 11:35 p.m. So he was only there for 10 minutes. What are you doing there?
Yep. Very, 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 very short period of time.
What are you doing there? Were you there for a party? Clearly not. What were you there doing there? Right? So again, does that mean he's guilty? Who knows? Maybe he went to go pick up something from a friend. Maybe he went to go get a hand job. I don't know. Right? That's a quick hand job. But either way,
we don't know. And we don't know. And by the way, a lot of the theories on this are that maybe he was sleeping with one of the roommates and there was something secret going on. That's some of the defense theories. And once again, reasonable doubt means you just got to prove one thing. You got to poke a hole in one piece of evidence.
Yeah.
So all they got to do on the defense is poke one hole in this evidence. Now the evidence is not looking good for him so far. It's looking really bad.
Yeah.
But they just got to find one hole and make one theory of the case.
And also keep in mind, guys, he didn't give a statement to the police, intelligently so. So they don't know anything yet. So further analysis of the cellular data provided showed that the phone utilized cellular resource on November 13, 2022, consistent with the phone traveling from Pullman, Washington to Lewiston, Idaho via U.S. Highway 195. At approximately 12:36 p.m., the phone utilized cellular resources that would provide coverage to Kate's Cup of Joe coffee stand located at 810 Port Drive, Clarkston, Washington. Surveillance footage from the U.S. Chef's store located at 820 Port Drive, Clarkston, Washington, and adjacent to Kate's Cup of Joe showed on a white Elantra consistent with suspect vehicle 1. Drive past Kate's Cup of Joe with the cellular data from the phone. All right, now is this paragraph necessary? Not necessarily, but what they're doing, guys, they're showing you that he was in the area, right? They were giving you his travel basically during the day of the murder, is what they're basically telling you, right?
Yep.
So at approximately 12:46 p.m., the phone was then utilized cellular data in the area of the Albertsons grocery store at 400 Bridge Street in Clarkston, Washington. Surveillance footage obtained from the Albertsons showed Kohberger exit the white Elantra consistent with suspect vehicle 1 at approximately 12:49 p.m. Interior surveillance cameras showed Kohberger walk through the store, purchase unknown items at the checkout, and leave at approximately 1:04 p.m. Kohberger's possible path of travel is depicted below. So as y'all can see, they're getting a timeline of everything he was doing that day. They're looking at his phone. They're looking at his surveillance footage. They're going to the businesses, getting the surveillance footage. So they are getting an indisputable account of events that he can't sit there and argue. Like, no, bro, we know you were picking up coffee at 12:46 in the afternoon, motherfucker.
Right.
Additional analysis of records for the phone indicated that between approximately 5:32 p.m. and 5:36 p.m., the phone utilized cellular resources to provide coverage to Johnson, Idaho. The phone then stops reporting to the network from approximately 5:36 to 8:30 p.m. This is consistent with the phone being in the area that the phone traveled in the hours immediately following the suspected time the homicides occurred. So what they're painting here, guys, is, yo, look, guys, he's already started to turn the phone off, right, on the day of the murder earlier in the day, right? On December 27, 2022, Pennsylvania agents, what they mean by Pennsylvania agents is this the FBI watching him at this point now, guys.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So now they know where he's at. They know he's all the way over here in Albertswrightville, Pennsylvania, right? Which is far as hell, guys. We already mapped this out. 219-hour drive, 2,640 miles other side of the goddamn country. He's out here in the
where his parents are, though. So he wasn't like in on the defense side, to give a fact in his favor. His parents do live there. It's not just a random place that he picked across the country. It's his parents. It's his parents' home. Yeah,
this is where his parents live. It's his defense. Good point. Right. So they got FBI agents staked out over here watching him. Right. Which is a huge plus for because obviously the police officers out of Idaho don't have the authority to go to Pennsylvania and conduct an investigation. So they have the FBI doing this for them, right? So the agents recovered the trash from the Kohberger family residence located in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. This is where shit starts to get good here, guys. Okay, so pay attention. That evidence was sent to the Idaho State Lab for testing on December 28th, 2022. So 24 hours later, that's how I know that the Idaho State Lab was taken as serious, right? Reported that a DNA profile obtained from the trash and a DNA profile obtained from the sheath identified a male as not being excluded as the biological father of suspect profile. At least 99.99998% of the male population would be expected to be excluded from the possibility of being the suspect's biological father. In English, you want to tell the people what that means, Andrew?
So this is essentially the function of the DNA test. I mean, you've probably used this more than me, but essentially it's saying that, hey, there is a very, very high probability this person is the same person. And because they've matched up the DNA on that sheath, that snap, remember in the beginning, I said that snap is what fucked him. That little piece of metal that his finger was on right next to the body matched up with something they fished from the trash, the trash over in Albrightsville that they tied to him. It'd be interesting to see what exactly they used to match that up. But that means that you are the father. No, you are the one who likely did this. They match this through your biological line. That's how the DNA works. So that's just them saying, hey, this is reliable data.
Yeah. So, and just to give you guys a little bit more context, because they didn't put this in the affidavit, but what the FBI observed, right, while they were watching him on surveillance, and remember, this is a rural neighborhood, they kind of had to watch from a distance. What they observed was him come out of the house multiple times, right, with gloves, surgical gloves, clean that Elantra crazy as if he's trying to sell it, right? He did a whole deep clean on it. And they witnessed him take the trash and not put it in his own trash, guys, but they observed him put the trash in his neighbor's trash. So what the FBI did was this is called a trash pull, by the way, guys. I've done this several times when I was an agent. This is a very good way to collect maybe a DNA evidence, trash, as far as like figuring out what their pattern of life is. Maybe they might get rid of documents that you want to identify, etc. So trash pulls actually can be really useful. And in this case, it was vital because they needed DNA. And the best way to get DNA is through the trash. So they go ahead, they pull the trash from the neighbor that he dumped out, right? Because he dumped it in the neighbor's trash. And they also pulled the trash from his house, and they had him on surveillance with surgical gloves, cleaning the Elantra. Now, again, does that mean he's guilty necessarily? Who knows? Maybe on a long drive, he spilled some soda. He was getting a hand job from some hooker on the way.
Who knows? Nobody knows.
Right? But
truck stop, who knows?
Maybe he wanted to have some fun on the way, and he, I guess caused a sexual explosion all over the car.
Happened.
But realistically speaking, this is some pretty damning evidence coupled with all the other facts, right?
This is probably the strongest evidence. And my thing is, from a jury's perspective, they really viewed DNA evidence strongly. So I think this is going to be on the defense to try to overcome this. This is going to be hard. I'm not saying they can't do it. A good defense attorney could attack the reliability of DNA evidence, attack the processing, could point out errors. It's possible, right? It's a battle of the experts, but it's very strong evidence against Bryan Kohberger. And this is probably the most damning evidence. Everything else is circumstantial. This in and of itself is very bad for him. Bad for his life.
So basically, guys, sum it up for y'all. They found the sheath in the home, right? In one of the victim's bedrooms, right, which we discussed earlier. That sheath had a male profile DNA on the snap. They were able to take that DNA profile and save it. Then they went ahead and searched the trash at Kohberger's residence on the other side of the country, by the way, and they found a DNA profile of his father. And from that DNA profile of his father, they could pretty much conclude that the son is more than likely going to be damn near 100% match to the DNA profile they found on the sheath. Now, you guys may be wondering.
It's like the same test you might get if you went on Maury, that you are the father.
Exactly. It's pretty damn accurate. The other thing, too, I want to say, guys, you might be wondering, well, Myron, how can the father DNA be used to identify somebody else? Well, I'll give you guys an example of this. Back in 2005, right? This is how they caught the BTK killer, actually. I broke this down on one of my episodes. they went ahead. This guy was killing people for 30 years, from like 1974 all the way to like 2004. He was running crazy in Wichita, Kansas. They couldn't get him. However, they were able to identify who he was, but they didn't have a DNA profile of him because they had the DNA from the crime scenes back in the 70s. So what they did was they went to the University of Kansas. They got his daughter's DNA profile because she had went to get some medical checkups over there, and they were able to conclusively say, yo, the killer is this woman's father. And bam, they identified him, and the DNA ended up matching up. So parental DNA is damn near 100% accurate, guys. So this is very strong evidence that Kohberger might be the killer here.
Yes,
DNA
this is the one they've got to turn over. This is the one they've got to fight. This is the case right here. If they can't beat this DNA evidence, they're probably going to lose. They're probably going to lose this case.
Yeah. No, for some of you guys that are wondering, no, it was not. The floppy disk identified the BTK as Dennis Rader. However, it was he left semen at some of the crime scenes where he, sexually assaulted the victims, and that semen was compared to the DNA profile of his daughter 30 plus years later, and that's how they linked them. Sorry, go ahead.
And in this instant case, we don't have any semen evidence. So they said there's no essay, no grape, none of that in this case.
Yeah, but yeah, in the BTK, I was just showing it to establish that DNA can be linked through familial links, is what it is. I mean, the Golden State Killer, they caught him as well through DNA from family members. So, and I'll break down that case for you guys as well. But the point I'm trying to make here, guys, is that familial DNA matches are very strong and have led to convictions in the past on high-profile cases. All right, based on the above information, I'm requesting an arrest warrant to be issued for Bryan C. Kohberger for burglary at 122 King Street in Moscow, Idaho, and 4 counts of murder in the first degree for the murders of Madison Mogan, Kaylee Goncalves, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapman. Rest in peace to them. I declare under penalty of perjury pursuant to the law of the state of Idaho that the foregoing is true and correct. So this was a very well-written affidavit, a lot of facts in here, very detailed. And I would say, I agree with you, Andrew, the strongest piece of evidence is by far this paragraph here, that they were able to pull the DNA. I'm just interested why he didn't put in here that the FBI agents observed him leaving the house multiple times and cleaning the car furiously. But again,
and there could be more details. This doesn't have to be the be-all, end-all. This is the affidavit. This is just enough for keeping him in, bring him to trial. So this is not all the evidence we'll get. Yes. I guarantee you, over the next year, we will get more evidence. If you want to get into, I don't know if you're ready yet for my speculation on when this goes to trial, but.
No, let's do it. And I want to do, that's a really good point that you mentioned. I want to let you guys know that these probable cause affidavits are only done to establish the bare minimum probable cause needed to get the guy arrested. So all facts of the investigation don't necessarily need to be disclosed for them to go ahead and get probable cause and get the guy arrested. So the little fact I gave you that FBI agents observed them with surgical gloves, cleaning the car furiously, coming in and out of the house multiple times, him dumping the trash out at a neighbor's trash versus his own, which is very suspicious, right? I see drug dealers do that all the time. These are all facts that are pertinent that could establish more probable cause, but they don't need it. They already got his DNA linked to the sheath that was found, on the other side of the country. So that in itself is pretty damn good evidence. Right?
Yeah.
So, all right. So go ahead, Andrew. I was going
to say, so here's my thing. So we've got this case and everyone was like, guilty, you understand, whatever theory you've got here, it was the roommate, you are not going to see this trial, even if he does not waive his right to a speedy trial, which he would be an idiot not to do. Even if he demands a trial, says as soon as possible, you would not see this before July of this year. Like that would be the fastest they could run this case. If they're just running it back just as fast as they can and everything. More than likely, you will see this next year or possibly even the following year. But I think next year. So this is a case you're going to have to wait at least a year because there's a lot of evidence, particularly DNA evidence, that they're allowed to go get in their own expert and have them analyze that. They're allowed to go back through the video evidence and say what is admissible, what's not admissible, to challenge that. So there's a lot of evidence to review on this case, and that's going to take the defense a while to go through if they want to go through this thoroughly. So I do not think we see a case on this till next year, maybe next summer. I think that'd be a realistic timeline.
What do you think is the only way? I could think of one scenario in my head where this guy won't get found guilty.
Well, there's a couple. One of them that people point out is if there's any sort of potential interference here, right? Like if there was any sort of coercion here, if there was any statements made that shouldn't have been made at some point. There's a lot of potentials. I mean, the roommate, is, to me, off the affidavit. If we're going off the affidavit, not on theories, not on speculation, but just off the affidavit, the roommate is the number one thing to me off that affidavit that as the defense, I would attack that.
Yeah.
I would say, why didn't you call? Why were you? Is this reliable? Is any of your testimony reliable? Is any of your account reliable?
Yeah.
And I would even use that to put suspicion on her or potentially her boyfriend or whatever else. So I would actually I would actually push that around if I was a defense attorney. I think that's very, very, very suspect. A lot of the behavior there's not a lot of details. And also, a young girl on cross, I think she might fold if she's put under pressure. She's probably not an experienced witness.
Absolutely.
So,
He's referring to this girl right here, by the way, guys. This chick right here.
Yes, on the right.
Dylan.
No, that's Bethany. That's Bethany.
I'm sorry. Yeah, this girl right here. Dylan is this chick right here who saw the guy walk by her, and the police were able to pull a footprint based off of her information, which can't show that she's accurate because they were able to independently corroborate that someone was in the house and had an unidentified shoe print there. But regardless, they're going to beat her up on the stand. The defense is absolutely going to beat her up on the stand.
Yeah,
on that one. So I would say what I think is the only thing I could think of that could potentially save this guy would be he had a relationship with one of the girls, and his sheath was there because he had been messing with her in the past. And that sheath was just there because he left it there. And,
here's the thing about this that's been kind of going out. This was a party house, right? These girls were all there. Yes. They would have people over for parties. They would have dudes over. They were not like they were not there. One of them had a boyfriend, but the others did not. Right? They were there partying. They were doing things, having their sorority sisters over. So it's very possible that one of them could have been sleeping with a grad student, right? And there could be something going on here, some sort of dynamic that we don't know about. That would have to come out at trial.
And
right?
it absolutely was a party house. And I'll show you guys real quick here. Hold on. Because that could be another thing in his favor. Like, oh no, I was in that area because that house is a known party house. And here, let me show you guys the
we met on Tinder, whatever it is. Once again, the burden's on him to prove that. But
here's a picture from the house, guys. Actually. Of the girls here, doing some pre-gaming or whatever. And this is the girls partying here. And this is the house. This is the actual, the background picture here. So, and this is where, again, this is where the murder occurred. So
right there, you can see even that room. It's got like the couch. You imagine people partying there, hanging out 100%. There, and whatever. Like that's 100% what people are going to do there, right?
Yeah.
So there's going to be people in this party.
3-story home. You got a bunch of girls living there. Like, this is going to be a pregame spot. Wouldn't be unusual for this house to have a high amount of people coming in and out. Yeah. Right. And
I'm just making up the best possible theory for the defense. I'm not saying that's a winning strategy, but you have to think of both sides. You can't just go through this and say, oh no, 100% it's going to get a W. If you do that, you're not thinking like a lawyer or like a law enforcement agent, right? You have to be able to think in a way of what's their defense and how do we present evidence that closes that defense, that shuts that off. You have to preempt it, right? You have to say what's their strongest argument and how am I going to come and defeat their argument? That's how you win in court.
Yeah. So I think that's honestly him knowing one of the girls and saying, oh yeah, no, that sheet is there because I've been there before. I've hung out with her. I left that sheet there. And we used to have a relationship. That's why I was in the area. That would probably create a little bit of plausible deniability. Now, honestly, I think the case is fairly strong. I think there's a good chance that this guy can get found guilty off of evidence alone. They probably have more evidence that they didn't even disclose on the affidavit, but thinking devil's advocate here, how he might be able to get exonerated as he told the media. I think it would be, I knew this chick who was a girl where they found the sheath. It was right here. I knew no, it wasn't. No, it was on the 3rd floor where they found the sheath, if I'm not mistaken, right? He knew Goncalves or Mogan, one of the two. He knew one of those two, right?
It's possible, right? You don't know what the relationships are. And by the way, I said it was a sorority house. It's not a sorority house. It's not the sorority house. It's a house where sorority girls live. It's one people of them who are partying there. They're young. It doesn't even matter whether they're a sorority or not, but it's common for sorority people to party, right? That's normal.
One of the girls is definitely in a sorority. I forget which one. I think it was Xana.
Mm-hmm.
But this is where the weapon was found. So he can articulate, oh no, bro, I was dating Goncalves, or she was the one that had the boyfriend, right? But who was the other one? Mogan, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these two girls were killed in this room. right? They were both found on the bed. Madison Mogan and Kaylee Goncalves. Remember, Goncalves was the one calling her ex-boyfriend at the time, and they had the dog together. And Mogan slept in the bed with her. So, and they were both found killed next to each other, and the knife was found next to Mogan. So he could say, oh, no, me and Mogan used to see each other. That's why she has my knife, and my DNA is on it.
And so let me say one other thing. There currently is a gag order out on this. In fact, it's out on the website. You've got that document that clearly says right now the hearings, everything is not able to be streamed. They don't want them streamed as of date. But I do believe that the trial itself will be testified, that they're going to update that order, and that they're going to allow it to be testified in the interest of disclosure of the court process. I do believe that's something that's going to happen. I don't believe they're going to make us watch the replay at nighttime, or whatever else. I don't think they're going to do that. I think they will turn that over. I think people would petition to watch this one because it's going to be so big and they want it.
And there's a lot of money to be made too. So
oh my God, are you kidding me? I'm going to grift off of that. That's going to be, I mean, everybody should be covering it because I think it's going to be a fantastic case for DNA evidence, for, just this circumstantial evidence in this new era, in the era of video evidence, triangulation, everything else.
Yeah. So here's Madison Mogan and here's Kaylee Goncalves. As you guys remember, right? These were the two that were killed together in the same bed. Kaylee Goncalves was trying to call her ex-boyfriend, right? With the dog. They have the dog together in her bedroom. And they found the knife next to Mogan's body on the bed. So, and just so you guys remember, this is where, right, that murder occurred. And the knife was found here. So, again, plain devil's advocate, right? Kohberger can say, oh, no, I knew Mogan or Goncalves. We had a relationship or I knew her. That's why my knife is there. My DNA was there.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then maybe they could establish that there was a link. But the fact that they already went ahead and did a pen register on his phone, they probably did tolls on his phone, etc. They probably went ahead and searched all the victim's phone numbers to his to see if there was a relationship. They more than likely didn't find one. Right. Because if they did, they would have outlined it in an affidavit. We don't know. But the fact that they didn't find it is probably what makes that sheath being found there so powerful because it shouldn't be there.
Right.
So,
like, why is it there? They don't own it. That's the question. Like, whose is that? Right. It's his. It's clearly his. So.
Yeah. So, but now, man, I mean, what's your last thoughts on this thing, Andrew? And
I think this thing is going to be, this case will be, whenever it goes to trial, the biggest thing out there. This is going to be huge. We're going to be following it. And I don't think we've seen all the evidence. I think there's lots of evidence here that we have not yet seen. I think there's video we have not seen. I think there's audio we have not seen. I think we need to see this all together. So I'm going to stay on top of this case because I think this is absolutely going to be the case of the year whenever it goes to trial. And also, I think we're really going to get to hammer down on DNA evidence, triangulation, all those other new methods which didn't exist, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, but allow us today to put together enough evidence to convict someone.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I will say that, if this crime occurred 30, 40 years ago, back when the Ted Bundys and the John Wayne Gacy's and all these guys were running around, they would have never solved this thing, man. I mean, you guys read the affidavit. They use extremely sophisticated investigative techniques between, protein samples and footprints, cell phone data extraction, right, with cell phone location services, surveillance footage from neighbors, from businesses, from highways, license plate readers, using law enforcement databases to connect different law enforcement agencies to work together. Guys, let's not forget that it was Washington State University police officers, campus police, by the way, the guys that break your party, those are dudes that identified this dude. All right. So had it not been for law enforcement working together, technology, interstate databases working together, license plate readers, all this stuff, they would have never found this guy, man. This dude would probably be running around doing the same stuff that Ted Bundy was doing 30 years ago, attacking girls on college campuses back in the 70s, and people didn't know because Ted Bundy did something very similar where he killed girls in Washington, then he went down to Colorado, Utah, Florida. In Idaho, he was killing girls all over the place, and no one was able to stop this guy because, again, a lot of these serial killers use the interstate highway system to almost kind of cover themselves from being investigated because law enforcement agencies didn't work together.
I absolutely believe that if this guy was not caught now, this would have been a serial. Like, if this is the guy, right, and if he's guilty, right, which I'm giving him the presumption of innocence, but if this guy's guilty, then Of course. This would have happened again. This is, if he's guilty, this is somebody who the pattern is looking like it would have happened again. Right.
Fact.
So we'll see. Well, I want to see it court. I'm going to give this guy his day in court. I'm going to listen to it from the standpoint of, you've got to convince me, right? It is the duty of the prosecution to convince me beyond a reasonable doubt this guy is guilty. So I'm going to be watching along with this. I'm going to be doing this trial live. I'll probably do this cover to cover, opening to closing. I'm planning to do a bunch of other cases at the end of this month. If you're interested in the Murdoch case, there's the suitcase murders in Orlando. Probably cover those, and maybe even the Abilene case where there's a alleged self-defense around a dumpster shooting. Cover all those cases, because it's important to see it from beginning to end and think, are these people proving it in court? Not public opinion, not on Reddit, not on Nancy Grace, but in court. That's what's important.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I see a bunch of people in the chat saying, yo, was the knife found? The knife was not found, guys, but I want to make this extremely clear. There have been several murder cases that have been solved with no body, with no weapon, etc. You do not, guys, the days of, we need the murder weapon, those days are done, bro. They can go ahead and convict you without a murder weapon with the sophisticated technologies and advancements that law enforcement has nowadays. So a murder weapon is no longer a critical element of a case. Now, is it fantastic to have it? Of course, right? But it is not required to the same extent it was 20, 30 years ago. So, I mean, the shit is damn near good enough almost.
Yeah, it's not required. Whereas in the past, you would actually need to find the murder weapon.
Yeah.
And by the way, people have convicted on less. That's the last one I think.
Yeah.
People have gotten convictions on less evidence than this. So this is actually more. This is actually enough in and of itself to get a conviction.
They've convicted people with no body, guys. They've convicted plenty of people with no body. So it happens. You know what I mean? Real quick, I'll read these chats. Raul goes, read this one. Can you do Adriel Chikatilo next? Love from Croatia. And that's from Sniffatello. I'll look into it. This is from Harper Thompson. He goes, the only reason why you think it's going to be a big case is because the victims were white. Switch the race around and both of you and the media won't be covering this case. Maybe. I mean, bro, you want to cry some more? Like, what are you? One of these fucking race people that wants to always make everything about race? Like, I am fucking tired of you crybabies always complaining about race. Oh, bro, if they were black, nobody would care. Last time I checked, a black dude got killed, especially by the police, the whole nation went crazy. All right? George Floyd, I think it was a drug addict and a criminal as well. Yeah, I think that dude. Yeah. So
I think the facts of the case make it whether or not it pops or not, right? It's always a facts case. George Floyd, the facts of the case were what made that big, right? Yeah. The facts of this case, when it's people that were not, they were not in the urban areas, right? Crimes, if you take out the urban centers in America, if you took just punch a hole in Chicago, Atlanta, New York, LA, San Francisco, Miami, in the highest crime areas, right? You remove those, the U.S. is safer than Japan, Switzerland, any of those countries. I mean, our crime rate goes away. Guys, you got to understand, crime does not happen in these places. So when crime happens somewhere where it doesn't normally happen, that makes a story.
Exactly. And also, you got to remember, it's college students. They were randomly killed. This has all the makings of a serial killer. Americans love serial killers. That's just the way it is, guys. You know what I mean? Like, I hate you guys that always got to make it about race, man. Like, stop being a fucking baby, man. Like, God damn, everything is, oh my God, it's race, so we're oppressed. Oh my God.
If these were college students of any other race, but it's still in Idaho, it's still in the middle of nowhere where there's no murders, it's still a top line story. It's still a headline story.
If there was a black person that got killed in this, trust me, they'd be covering it too. You know what I mean?
Idaho? Because come on, I mean, the population of the University of Idaho, I don't know what the percentage is. They definitely would cover that.
Sean Keller Robinson is getting covered right now. Why aren't you, you know what I mean? Like, bro, people always want to make it about race, bro. Listen, man, I am race agnostic. All right. I don't care. Black, white, Chinese, whatever. There was a Hispanic woman that was killed in this situation. I don't hear y'all saying nothing about that. You know, it's always fucking people. Oh, yo, bro, it's only because it's white people. It's like, bro, stop making everything about race, man. Fucking crybabies everywhere. W. Belinda with no brow. Okay. I went to UF as well. Shout out to Legal Mindset. Yep. Shout out to you, Greg. I grew up near Pullman and have lots of friends at both WSU and the University of Idaho. And it's honestly a huge tragedy for this whole area. Oh, I'm sure. This is Bundy FSU Redux, and that's from Kool-Aid Man. Yeah, facts. On Tate, Hope Not Hate is really gunning for him, paying women to make accusations. Tommy Robinson has a good piece on Rumble with proof. Yeah, bro. I've told you guys this weeks ago. There have been girls that have come forward that said, yo, I was offered $10,000 to $50,000 to lie on Andrew and Tristan, saying that they abused me or whatever they did to me. A lot of it is cap. People are attacking him for no reason. Andrew's innocent. All right. You guys can call me biased, whatever you want to say. I know Andrew in person. I know Tristan in person. They're not going to do that shit, bro. They're just not. Mr. Shandon, $2 from Great
By
Britain.
the way, I trust that. That's called character evidence.
There you go. Can you break down Harold Shipman, aka Dr. Death case? I will do that. I think that's a British serial killer. $10 from Kool-Aid Man goes, was watching the football game, but switched over to hear your thoughts on this with the wife, Spokane resident. Shout out to you, bro. Enad Shagmar, thank you so much for the $10. In 2019, the city of Moscow just got their second forensic specialist. Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't know that. Kool-Aid Man. Tracy goes, they were in Maddie's room, not Kaylee's. $2. What? Okay. Kool-Aid Man. They had lots of parties, and the back slider door was known to be unlocked. Yes, that is true.
And that's the thing. If the guy knew that because he was going over there a lot of time, he might say, okay, that's the best way because I know it's unlocked. He's probably tested it before.
Kid Cannabis was out of car D, a lean ID as well. Could be a good fed it. Okay. Content fire always. Appreciate all your content, brother. Shout out to me, Legal Mindset. That's Thinking Man. Yeah, guys, go subscribe to Legal Mindset. God damn it. First 48 Fed It edition. Love your channel. Thank you, bro. And that's from Checking Vids Online. And then we got a few more here. Madison and Xana were likely targeted because they worked at the first listed vegan-friendly restaurant in Moscow, in Idaho, and Kohberger was an extremist vegan. What? Okay. So you're saying that he ate there and he probably identified them from being there, maybe? Who knows? Okay, that's a speculation. Thanks for the breakdown, G. Don DeMarco. Thank you, Cigarette Man. Plenty of psycho cops out there. He would just been another one added on the roster. Well, he wasn't going to be a police officer, Maury. He was going to be like a volunteer. Cell data can't pinpoint location depending on which type of cell technology is used. CDMA versus GSM, for example, certain ones require extremely precise phone geodata. Exactly. Once they know what phone to look for, and that's from Ed Shamar, and he goes again, once they know what phone to look for, they can get historical data and find out who was stalking my step-niece, Madison. What? Okay. Thoughts on Kai Grape Allegations Association? I don't know enough about it to speak about it in an intelligent manner. Janice Arbogast, go back to the Johnson case. There is a state park disposing on evidence. Ding, ding. Okay. Cool. Andrew, where can the people find you, brother?
Guys, legalmindset.locals.com is the best place to find me exclusive information, exclusive stuff on there. Also, 2 places you can go on YouTube at Legal Mindset or Rumble at Legal Mindset as well. Both those platforms are great. Rumble has never censored me. Still sitting on one strike there. Still trying to keep me down hard. Guys, make sure if you ever subscribed to me in the past, make sure you're still subscribed because they are censoring me just like they censor Myron, just like they censor all of us, just like they censor Tate, right? They are working overtime to keep us down. My moderators are getting unsubbed at this point. That's how crazy it is. So even if you did in the past, make sure you go check your subs, not just for me, all the channels you like. Do it for all your favorite channels. Make sure you sub, make sure you got the bell on. And I appreciate it. I'm going to be doing more content as always with Myron whenever he needs me on these big cases, but I do legal coverage every single weekday, sometimes on the weekend as well.
Bam. Ed Shamar goes, Madison and Kaylee were not involved with Kohberger. Both girls called their mothers nearly every night and shared intimate details of their romantic lives. Any theory of a relationship with Kohberger will be immediately shot down. Yeah, that's a possibility. Again, we were just speculating as to how he can get out of this.
Once again, the defense just has to propose something that creates reasonable doubt. It doesn't have to convince you. The defense does not have a duty to convince you. They have the duty or the job, the task of convincing a single juror out of 12 that this is plausible. If they believe it's plausible, that's it. One person. That's all they got to do.
Big facts. Guys, do me a favor. Like the video, man. Okay, because this took a lot of work, a lot of research from both of us to go ahead and bring you guys this this breakdown. I think by far, I've looked at some of the other breakdowns on this case. I think by far this is the most detailed, probably best breakdown on YouTube right now between us two. Because a lot of these other true crime people, let's be honest here, bro, they haven't done an investigation in their life. They don't understand how these cases work. And you got someone who's a former law enforcement professional at the federal level, and you got a lawyer, practicing lawyer, by the way, not one of these lawyers on YouTube that passed the bar and says they're a lawyer. No, you got a practicing lawyer here. We're breaking down the stuff for y'all so you guys understand. So like the video, subscribe to FedIt, subscribe to Legal Mindset, and I'll catch you guys on Fresh and Fit tomorrow at 7 p.m., man. Other than that, man, I'll give you the last word to you, Andrew.
Guys, stay tuned, stay informed, because more and more we are going to see huge topics handled in the courtroom, whether they're issues that are crimes like this or whether we're litigating the truth like we do in big trials like Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. Stay tuned. And as always, you're going to get the facts from me and you're going to get the facts from Myron on all of his channels, guys. So make sure you hang in there with both of us.
Ed Shamgar, last one goes, Kohberger's personal postings reveal he's a super radical vegan. Madison worked at the Mad Greek restaurant, the top listed vegan store. Xana was somewhat new. Madison was my step brother's daughter. God damn. Talk about close to home. All right,
That's true. Yeah,
that's how he might have went ahead and staked out his victims. He identified them from going to that restaurant, eating there, because there ain't that many vegan restaurants, especially in a spot like that in Idaho, bro. Let's be honest here; they're in the boonies. So I'm not surprised that he may. And the vegan community is small, bro. If you're a vegan,
small, they know all the spots. They literally tell each other all the spots. I met one vegan once. They literally knew all the restaurants that were vegan.
Yeah, that's just how it is, man. But no, man, I appreciate that. Guys, do me a favor, man. Like the video. All right, I'm going to end the video here. I'm going to put detailed timestamps in here so you guys can come back and refer to it. And love y'all. Subscribe to Legal Mindset. Subscribe to Fed It. And most importantly, like the video. Get me to 2,000 likes. There's 2,400 y'all in here. But other than that, man, I'll catch you guys on Fresh Fit tomorrow, 7 p.m. Peace. I was a special agent with Homeland Security Investigations, okay, guys? HSI. The cases that I did mostly were human smuggling and drug trafficking. No one else has these documents, by the way.
Here's what FedEx covers.
Dr. Lafredo confirmed lacerations due to stepping on glass.
Murder investigations.
You see him reaching in his jacket. You don't know. And he's positioning. Been on February 13, 2019.
You're facing 2 counts of premeditated murder,
Racketeering and RICO conspiracies.
Young Slime Life, here and after referred to as YSL. The defendants 6'9", and then this is Billy Seiko right here. Now, when they first started, guys, 6'9" ran. I'm a Fed. I'm watching this music video. You know, I'm bobbing my head like, hey, this shit lit. But at the same time, I'm pausing. Oh, wait, who this? Right? Oh, who's that in the back?
Firearms and violent crime.
AKA Bushy Eyebrows violated.
you're ordered to stay away from the victim.